That's your cue. Vince.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're
I was
waiting
waiting
for
to see
there,
what he
buddy.
found. All right, Raw.
Oh, yeah, he's the guy that did Thug Assassins.
Oh, it was good. He is the man. He is the man. So the very first thing I noticed in the show, of all the things to notice on Raw in Chicago, where Raw is not CM Punk, first thing I noticed was a sign that someone made, brought to the arena, and held up that read, "Heartless has-been Helmsley."
Very creative.
That's
Very
a thinker.
creative.
There were some tremendous signs on this show.
Yeah.
There was one that says, Lesnar is ticklish.
My favorite was a giant Colt Cabana head.
I saw
Never
that
not
too.
funny.
Saw that too.
Never not funny.
Did you see the one that just basically it just read, "Please put pants on"?
Was that to Randy Orton?
Yes. There were some great signs on the show.
So, yes, they basically stole my idea. I suggested the do Punk's entrance and then have Triple H come out instead. They did Punk's entrance and Paul Heyman came out instead.
Yeah.
Crowd, of course, was cheering for Punk, going crazy, and Heyman encouraged this, held the mic out to him, sat cross-legged in the ring like Punk does, and he talked for a long time. I've said many times that there's no bigger fan of Paul Heyman, the performer, than myself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of his best promos. And that's like saying, when you talk about Shawn Michaels matches, if you say that's one of Shawn Michaels' best matches, that means that's one of the best matches of all time.
Yeah.
This is one of Paul Heyman's best promos, and that makes it one of the best promos of all time. He talked about Punk for a while, without mentioning him. Well, he actually mentioned my name several times, but he said that he was a Paul Heyman guy who was never supposed to be in the company, never really wanted to be in the company by the people in power. He was too small to main event Mania. He had the wrong tattoos. He was rebelled too strongly against authority.
What does that mean, the wrong tattoos? Should have got a Coke tattoo?
He should have gotten whatever Randy Orton has.
Skulls. I don't even know what skulls and tribal tats.
Yeah,
because those are in.
Oh yeah.
He did have a great line in here where he acknowledged that he had always found it easier to lie because the truth hurt. That made me laugh. So he was talking about how he wished Punk was there. Punk was not there, and he wanted to see Punk performing and being the best in the world, and he didn't get to, and he blamed that on the fans. Because he had been the one to guide Punk and to be his counsel and help Punk navigate the waters of the WWE. And then when the fans took Punk away from Heyman, Heyman wasn't there to help Punk get around anymore. And the other person he blamed was The Undertaker, because The Undertaker had beat Punk at Mania last year, and that started the downward spiral that drove them apart. He wanted revenge on The Undertaker. He wanted the streak to die. And only one man could do it, and that was Brock Lesnar. Brock came out. He said Undertaker was scared of him. He said people like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and your baby boy, CM Punk, they all tried to face Taker, and they failed. But he was going to beat him. And they started to leave. Mark Henry came out. They brawled on the floor.
Trying to kill this poor guy.
Henry?
Yeah.
This is not...
Mark Henry is always injured.
Yeah.
And the last 3 times I've seen him has been someone trying to kill him.
Yeah.
Usually someone big and scary.
This was not as bad as last time he fought Brock. We took the F5 on the floor.
Yeah.
This time he went through the announce desk. Brock Lesnar versus inanimate objects is always fun.
Except when a monitor hits a fan.
Well, we didn't see that on TV. We just saw him throw this monitor like Joe Flacco throwing a football to 60 yards.
Actually,
apparently hit a fan.
I saw the Semper Vivi actually retweeted some guy, and I was looking for it. And when the monitor got tossed high in the air, I was watching the fans, and they had a monumental freak out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I
would too.
Yeah. Remember that time UI and Brent went to a AWA show? Was it AWA or?
I think it's probably the AWF.
Okay. And it was...
Nails through the chair.
The chair.
I remember that. It was AWF.
That's the wrestler, not your brother-in-law.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He threw a chair and it bounced off the ring ropes and hit this kid sitting in the front row.
Yep.
And that was gnarly. And Brent didn't care because he was drinking strawberry martinis.
Don't throw stuff at the fans, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad news. So, yeah, he prepped the announce desk. He F5'd Henry through it, and the crowd responded to all this by chanting for CM Punk. A hell of an opening segment.
I noted in the update today that they actually did consider the idea of having Bad News Barrett come out and say that he had some bad news, and that is that CM Punk is not in the building.
They would have gathered around the podium and shook him out of there.
Shook it until he fell out of it like they're trying to get apples out of a tree.
Yes.
Hadn't thought of that.
That would have been great.
Now, how easy would that be, Craig, on that big device?
Pretty tough, actually.
Difficult?
It's pretty sturdy.
Now, how does it not fall over?
Because the base on it is
it's so heavy?
It's heavy, and there's wheels. There's an engine underneath there.
How often do those things fall over in real life?
It would take quite a bit to do it.
Be difficult?
Yeah, we use them in our shop to change light bulbs.
And you've never fallen off of it when you were at the top?
No.
Pretty good.
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the hydraulics didn't fail either.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those things are sturdy. What about you and Vinny at the top? If you and Vinny had a scaffold match at the top of Wade Barrett's gimmick, would that goddamn thing tip over?
It'd be the best running of the ropes. 2 feet.
Huh.
Yeah. No, it'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, then. New Age Outlaws against the Usos for the tag titles. Road Dogg announced that the Chicago crowd was not worthy of hearing his catchphrases, so they were heels today.
Wow.
I feel like I have to update whether they were heels or baby faces on every show.
Well, they were definitely heels here.
Yep. There were not many people on the show who were loved, at least not many people who were actually in the building. But the Usos were on the list. Sometimes, you ever watch a show and they go to commercial and you just forget to fast forward?
Yeah.
I almost never forget to fast forward.
I forgot to fast forward, and there was a commercial here for a show on the Golf Channel. And it's essentially a reality show. It's called Big Break. And, they have a bunch of golfers who live together and also golf together, and every week one of them gets knocked off. And so
it's like Tough Enough with golf?
Yeah. Golf wasn't boring enough.
Yeah. Now it's people talking
What's
about golf.
What's the opposite of tough? Weak Enough? Is that what it's called?
So
the golf reality show.
You see
Weak
where
Enough?
I'm going with this. This whole commercial about golfers was built around female golfers trash talking each other.
That actually sounds kind of fun.
And they aired this during Raw. Like Raw fans would say, "Hey, I know I've been hard on Raw sometimes."
They built Ultimate Fighter off of Raw, so maybe they'll this Golf Channel show will be built off the back of wrestling.
Maybe it'll work.
Never know. You never know, Vinny.
So the crowd, which had been about half into this in the beginning, half cheering for Punk, they were totally into it by the end. Like, they were clapping in unison. So the camera had to zoom out to show the fans all clapping together. They did the exact same finish from the pay-per-view match, except this time the Usos kicked out. And then the one Uso did the hit a dive while tagging out of the ring. And his brother came in, hit a super kick, and the top rope splash to win the match and the titles. And the crowd exploded.
Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing reaction. They should just rename themselves Chicago Championship Wrestling and do the show live in the city every week. It was quite awesome.
The match was really tremendous, but I don't need to see it again. And apparently it was on tonight.
Yeah, the rematch tonight.
Yeah.
Third time in, what would that be, 7, 8, 9 days? Pay-per-view, Raw, and then this one.
Yeah.
It was a great match. It was a great match. I mentioned the Colt Cabana head. It's always funny when you see that giant head. And Craig's recreating it right now. They have the giant head out there, and what's so funny?
That was a funny joke.
They win the match, and all of a sudden, Colt Cabana's giant smiling head is up there laughing. It was great.
Colt Cabana's head is an Uso fan.
Yeah, it is.
They showed a clip from Need for Speed.
I can't believe no one confiscated that head.
If it was CM Punk's head, they probably would have taken it.
That's true. Maybe Punk's head was on the other side. Maybe they did. Maybe it was a tag team and they got rid of the Punk.
Hadn't thought of that.
That's possible.
They showed a clip from Need for Speed here. I was thinking to myself, boy, this looks like the worst thing ever. I will never see this movie. And
Little
then,
did you know.
just to prove it was not the worst thing ever, we then got the Divas watching the same clip and reacting and analyzing.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized that the Divas acting made Need for Speed look like 12 Years a Slave. That movie is awesome compared to these Divas.
Didn't one of them make a lewd comment about how she would let Paul Walker take a ride or something?
Yes.
It's probably
And
Oksana.
they all went, what? And she said, in his car.
It was Nikki, wasn't it?
No, it was Oksana.
It's probably Oksana.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, they've got a new team name. Did you see this on Twitter?
Yeah.
I've already lost it.
It's Foxana. You forgot it?
Oh, Foxana.
Wow.
Really? Foxana?
Really? I don't think that's real.
That's what they said here, Alicia Fox and Oksana. Now, it's this from Emerson Whitner. He'd never lie to me. Emerson, are you lying to me? Foxana.
Same joke as Rybaxel.
Foxana.
Oh.
Say it, Craig.
Foxana. I guess it's not the same name as...
Foxana.
Mattress.
Oh, Craig.
What? Say it again. Couch. What?
Car. Hood. Let's move on.
Dryer.
This just got uncomfortable.
Washer.
Foxana. What are you so appalled by? It's the name of the team. Foxsana. Foxana.
Countertop.
Why would I make this up? Why would Emerson make this up?
Dishwasher.
Enough, Craig.
Sorry.
Vinny's clearly uncomfortable. What's happening over there? I can't see anything.
He gave up. All right, Big E versus Cesaro. There's a point here where Cesaro nearly dropped Big E doing a tilt-a-whirl, but he didn't drop him, and then he manhandled him back into position and hit the move. And it was actually more impressive
Craig.
than if he just hit it clean on the first try.
Yeah, Craig screwed up. Go ahead, Craig.
Paul Walker is no longer with us. I made a slight error. Oops.
When did that go? Okay. I wasn't even listening to what you said, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. So Cesaro went for the giant swing. Crowd loved Cesaro. They didn't like Big E. And they really wanted to see this giant swing. So when Jack Swagger ran in and hit a Vader bomb, they were pissed. And Cesaro and Coulter were all pissed. And I think my notes here are completely out of order. This one...
What, you watch it backwards? You watch it upside down?
Oh, that happened... They must... Okay.
How are your notes out of?
I think the Real Americans want her twice or something.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what happened. Yes.
Oh, my God.
So Big E hits Cesaro with a big ending. When I was reading my own notes, my notes didn't make sense to me.
They don't make sense to me either.
Now, why would they? Shield versus the Wyatts. They had a great match.
Better or worse than the pay-per-view? What do you think, Craig?
Better.
What do you think, Vinny?
I thought worse.
Really?
Now, I love the pay-per-view match. I love this match. This match was crazier than the pay-per-view match. It was more out of control.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it was it was great. It was a great match. Is there any chance at all that rather than having Roman Reigns leave the Shield, they'll just all turn babyface? I don't want them to break up.
Well, they're going to break up, Vinny. They may even do a three-man match at Mania.
Yeah.
By the way, why all the teams breaking up at once? They couldn't stagger.
I don't know.
this out a
Someone
little bit more?
mentioned that to me that they get on a kick. If you remember, late last year, it was like there are all these tag teams. There's a bunch of tag teams. Tag team wrestling is back. And now, let's break up all the tag teams.
It's
I don't know
funny.
what's going on.
I don't listen to many shows that you do. But the last time I listened to one of the shows you did with Lance, the two of you were having an argument about the tag team division.
That's why it's so funny.
And
I remember this argument.
He said it's not a division unless they're all together for many years.
Yeah.
And here we are 3 months later, and it turns out he was right.
I don't know if I agree with that. It's not a division unless they're together for however many years he said. But it was because at the time that's what I was told. We're gonna have a big tag team division. It's gonna be a big tag team year. And it was for a month.
Yes.
And then also all the teams start breaking up.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if they're gonna break up Cody and Goldust, actually.
Oh, the one team that maybe should.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, the gimmick here was they got the heat on Rollins.
And by the way, this is a 6-man breaking up, so they could still remain a tag team.
That's true. They had the heat on Rollins, and when he crawled for the corner, the Wyatts distracted Ambrose and Reigns, so there's no one for him to tag out to. Then later he fought back. He was able to tag in Ambrose. And then Ambrose got cut off. And then when Ambrose goes to crawl to the corner, Reigns has been taken out, so only Rollins is there. And Rollins looks at him, and he jumps down and he walks up the ramp.
You know what's funny about this is everybody was booing.
Why wouldn't they be booing?
Well, I'm just noting that they don't want these guys to break up.
Yeah.
Sucks to be them.
Yeah. So, Reigns recovered. He asked Rollins what he was doing. He said, I am sick of keeping you two together. You guys figure it out on your own. So Reigns and Ambrose went to fight 2-on-3. That didn't work out very well. And finally, Bray hit Dean with Sister Abigail for the win.
It was great.
It was great.
Cole, I got to say something about Michael Cole. I am not the biggest Michael Cole fan in the world. I don't know if you noticed or not. But Cole was on fire on this show. I thought he was great. He was on fire in this match. He was on fire during the Usos match. And he was great. He was great. Normally, I'm kind of hit or miss, but he was he was losing his voice by the time they got to this match. So
I'm always surprised when I listen to Chris Jericho's podcast or Stone Cold's podcast about how many people really respect Michael Cole and think he's a great guy and a great guy.
I'm sure he's a great guy. Doesn't mean he's a great wrestling announcer.
Yeah, I get that.
But he has gotten better. He's gotten a lot better.
True. He is much better than the days of heel play-by-play guy.
Yes, and
he was
the worst very
thing
good
I
on
ever
Raw.
saw. Renee Young interviewed Batista backstage. He said the Yes Movement was the dumbest thing he'd ever seen in his life.
Yep.
And guys like Daniel Bryan would never beat guys like him. For the second time here, I was late fast-forwarding through commercials, and I'm very, very happy. Because George Lopez has a new TV show. And based on this commercial, this new TV show apparently includes Danny Trejo in a luchador costume.
Wow.
Buys. Many, many buys.
You know that thing they just showed on SmackDown, the Lana thing? That was exactly.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It may have just been a replay on Raw.
It's entirely possible.
Are we sure it wasn't a SmackDown rewind that we watched on Raw?
Yes, not.
That's the exact same goddamn thing.
Yes.
How about that?
Emma and Santino versus Fandango and Summer Rae. The ref here was a guy named Mark Harris. And I know this because the announcers were constantly talking about him and pointing out what a crappy ref he was.
This poor guy.
I don't know what he did to who, but someone's upset with him. Fans, of course, are changing for Punk here. I believe they may have also been saying they wanted Ziggler. They did cheer for him later, so maybe they were. So Santino and Fandango went most of the match. And you don't often say this in mixed tags, but man, I wish they'd just let the women wrestle.
I thought these guys were working hard.
Working hard and working well are not the same thing. Santino's not very good.
No, he's not.
No.
But he'd kick your ass.
Of course he would.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Very good grappler.
I'm sure. Yes. So, Emma got the hot tag. Crowd booed her dancing. Santino chased Fandango away with a snake.
Would you like to repeat that again?
That's what happened.
That's what he said.
I'm not making this up. Santino chased Fandango away with his snake. And Emma got the win with the Emma lock. And they danced.
My son, every time Santino is on the television, he just grins ear to ear.
Sounds like my wife.
He thinks it's the greatest thing ever. And when they won at the end, Santino went to dip Emma, but it somehow ended up with Emma behind him, and they tumbled down to he just died with laughter. Thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Pratfalls.
Your son is a great laugh.
He's 7.
Can't you show him some Three Stooges or something?
We have watched the Marx Brothers.
Oh.
Which
not as good as Three Stooges.
I think better.
Three
actually.
Stooges are the best.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, I know about that.
Okay.
That's a fact.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because you said so.
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's my show.
I can't argue with that.
Let's proceed.
We had a very long commercial for the network with Stephanie sharing her memories of Andre the Giant.
I'm sure she's really nice in real life. But how can you do a show? How can you do a show where her role is to be the most annoying woman on the earth? And she comes out and everybody boos like crazy and they drown her out. So I talked about it in the update today. People in the building had absolutely no idea what Hunter and Stephanie were saying. Because as loud as it was on TV, it was even louder in the building. And she screeches and she belittles everybody. And her character is designed for you to want someone, not to beat her up, but
To shut her up.
yeah, shut her up. And then it's her role to come on here and sell the WWE Network.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't even occur to me, but you're exactly right.
This commercial, I watched this commercial, and I don't know what it is. I'm sure people will say the same thing about my voice, but I hear her voice, and it's like, I don't want to buy anything you're trying to sell me. You know?
Yeah.
If I were just a normal fan and Stephanie McMahon's trying to sell me the network, I would not be jumping to the computer to buy this network. I'd be like, how fast can I turn the channel? It's not good.
By the way, Dolph is coming out here as we watch the SmackDown replay. Is he ever going to dye his hair again?
Well, you know what happens? I know this because I heard about it from Chuck Palumbo, of all people.
Uh-huh.
So, when you have dark hair, it takes a lot of hair dye to get it blonde.
Right.
So, you gotta like bleach your entire head. So, he didn't want you to be able to see any of the roots.
Right.
And so he's constantly dyeing his hair. So what happens? Hair starts falling out.
Fries his hair.
Yeah, so probably the same thing happened to Ziggler. You can't bleach your hair like that, like every week.
Then cut it. It looks awful.
Remember one time when he did cut his hair and dyed it to its original color? And everybody
Well, that
goes,
didn't work either.
Yeah.
You got to find the middle ground.
He can be just a guy.
Why not just have
Doesn't
long,
matter.
dark
It's
hair?
Dolph.
Just have long, dark hair. What the hell difference does it make?
Yeah.
Or just streak it or something.
Shave it. Something.
Don't shave it.
No.
This is not a becoming look, however.
No. All right. So yeah, we had the Stephanie talking about Andre and showing her daughters what Grandpa looked like a long time ago, and then showing them some of Daddy's matches. And all I could immediately think was, please do not show them the Royal Rumble match with Mick Foley. Almost anything else. I realize there's probably a lot of other stuff they shouldn't see either, but for the love of God, don't show them that one.
The animal's back. That's what his thing says.
Up at the top of the screen?
Yeah. Craig, why do you sigh like that about Big Dave?
Because he came back with all this hype and he got in the ring.
Let's just say the animal's back is hairy.
That's right. The animal's back needs a shaving.
The hashtag that they have for him, it says still hungry.
He didn't look hungry.
No, he looks fine.
Which is very well fed.
No, all the hype behind him, and he came out and, he coasted through the first couple of matches he's had. And then he was...
But you don't want the guy to get hurt.
Brian, it's wrestling.
Craig, he's 45 with a history of injuries. What do you want?
Maybe it's the way that they just absolutely shoved him down our throats.
Craig, you're the exact guy that Big Dave's talking about in his promos.
Is that right?
Yep.
Actually,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the guy.
I'm
you're
the guy. Okay.
Go on, Vinny.
I wonder if I've got heat with him.
Christian versus Sheamus in their best of 1,000 match series, which is not going well for Christian, by the way. They had a match. It wasn't a bad match. It was actually a good match, but it was a match we've seen 700 times this month, and these fans wanted no part of it. Turned out hardcore.
And it was long.
It was very, very long. They were chanting for Punk. They were chanting boring. They were chanting end this match. The announcers were not helping. Not that this affected the live crowd at all. But I can only imagine the mood Vince McMahon was in backstage. Because these guys, first they started burying JR during the entrance. Why you're taking shots at Jim Ross in 2014, I don't know.
What did they say? I didn't even hear this.
They said something about, they're talking about Steph talking about her dad as an announcer. And JBL asked Cole, who do you think was a better announcer, JR or Vince? And they all laughed, and then Cole did the worst JR impression you ever heard. It didn't sound anything like Jim Ross at all.
So did they answer the question, or are they just laughing?
They just laughed and moved on. I guess they may have said Vince was better. That's frankly in their position what I would say. But so then for this entire 15, 20-minute match, the main topic of conversation was not who would win. It was not what was at stake. It was not how impressive it was. The main topic of conversation is, boy, Christian's a skinny geek. It's all they talked about.
And they've been doing that for weeks. It's hard to... If you're the owner of a company and you want to make money, why would you tell people your product sucks?
Well, they're just talking about how Christian's skinny. Not saying
And
he sucks.
He's skinny. He's pale. He's
Actually,
ugly,
he's
old,
actually
he's ugly.
orange. He's actually orange.
Yes, I think Lance Storm asked him if he had jaundice. So
Wow.
on Twitter.
That's his buddy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Vince gets on these kicks and he decides he's going to bury somebody, and
No body, skinny, ugly, and
great worker.
Yeah.
And Christian shrugs, collects his enormous paycheck, and says thank you.
I know. I feel bad for Christian, but at the same time, number one, he ain't suffering, and number two, if you don't bury Christian, he still ain't drawing you any money.
I don't even supposed to feel bad for Christian. I feel bad for me as a viewer.
Well, yeah, that
watching
part
a product
sucks.
I don't like.
That part sucks. But
so, I was a little mad at these fans because like it was long and it was pointless, but it wasn't bad, and they were pissed off and they took it out on these guys, and I felt bad. But then after commercial, Sheamus is cutting a promo backstage and Christian attacks him from behind, and then I got pissed. These guys are just going to wrestle.
Yeah, they're just going to keep wrestling
on every show forever.
And you know what? I'm not even burying Christian when I say that even if you didn't bury him, he's not going to draw any money. Nobody in this company is really drawing any money, unless you're John Cena, and you know Sin Cara sells merchandise. Punk is going to sell some merchandise and some tickets to scalpers apparently. But the point of this is, no one's really drawing any money, so it doesn't really matter. But the bigger issue is it is goddamn annoying to be watching this show and have to hear about how skinny Christian is and how much he can bench. I don't give a fuck how much he can bench. Anyway.
The Bella Twins wrestled a tag team. Brian, would you like to say the name of this team?
Oh, I already forgot. Foxana?
Foxana.
That can't really be the name. I got to go to the SmackDown spoilers now and see if they really started calling them that.
So I believe at one point here, Bree threatened Oksana with Bree mode.
Just going to drink a lot and get annoying?
I guess so. So the announcers quickly got bored and checked out, talked about the YouTube show and whatever. There's nothing worse than announcers who are bored with their own product.
I got to find out about
It's very
this.
hard to sit through when the announcers themselves have no passion. Nikki won with shock treatment, and the same crowd that had booed Christian and Sheamus gave these girls a polite ovation. I guess because they were nice enough to end their match in a reasonable time.
Okay, so there is a deal on yahoo.com, answers.yahoo.com. This is from January 31st. Should Oksana and Alicia Fox be called Foxana? Is the question. So I actually don't know. I don't know if this is really what they're being called. Can it really be Foxana? Really?
No.
There is an at Foxana WWE on Twitter, but there's only 3 followers. I think someone might be Foxaning with me.
Travis here notes that Batista is 4 months older than Road Dogg.
That's impossible to believe. Road Dogg looks 45, but he doesn't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Dave does not look 45.
No.
Daniel Bryan came out for a promo. He encouraged the fans to hijack Raw. He was the only guy on the roster that these fans would tolerate and stop chanting Punk for a while. So he still wanted a match with Hunter. And the Helmsleys came out, and this is the point where the crowd was booing so loud that people in the building couldn't even hear what Hunter and Steph were saying.
They didn't miss much.
No, they repeated. It was, yeah, you're exactly right. They repeated everything they've been saying since SummerSlam. It's the exact same promo you've heard a million times. You're a B-plus player. You're not in my shoes. Listen to the fans. Blah, 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 blah. So eventually, Hunter ordered Bryan out of the ring. Actually, the only point here that was any different or good was, as the crowd's booing Hunter for all they are worth, Hunter's burying Bryan, but as he's speaking, he just kind of turns and walks a circle in the ring and looking at all the fans, and he says, everyone who failed in this company failed because they were not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. So, yeah, finally he ordered Bryan out of the ring, and Bryan refused to leave, so they called out Kane. And Kane came out, and Bryan wiped him out, and referees came out and waved their hands around. And then security geeks finally pulled Bryan away, and that was that.
Someone says your cynicism is beyond annoying, Vinny.
I'm sure I'm very annoying to some people.
What's he cynical about right now?
What do you got?
Huh? What?
I'm a very cynical man. He's
I said, what do you got?
as if to imply I'm cynical about many things.
I see.
which is accurate.
That is true.
As my notes here read, Josh Matthews was at the experts panel with Booker T, Hacksaw Duggan, and Alex Riley. That's it. That's all I wrote. Alberto Del Rio came out to wrestle Dolph Ziggler. Dolph came out with Aaron Paul, who was apparently on Breaking Bad and now is in that god-awful movie they played a clip from earlier. As my notes here read, Aaron Paul is short and skinny and having the time of his life.
That's most of the celebrities that appear on this show.
He was at the announce desk marking out for everything Dolph Ziggler did. One of the loudest fans in the building.
So essentially he was marking out for a lot of big bumps.
Yes. He climbed on the announce desk. He distracted Del Rio, and Dolph won with a zigzag. So the guy who pinned Big Dave then got pinned by Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
What a strange company this is.
Maybe this is the start of Ziggler's push.
I slapped my knee like Dave did.
That was some cynicism right there.
That was
hardcore cynicism.
I am a cynical person. They announced Paul Bearer for the Hall of Fame. I believe this may have been the exact same tribute video they aired when he passed away. Jack Swagger was supposed to wrestle Big E, but...
Which time?
The real one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not when he was buried in cement.
Or left in the freezer.
Or left in the freezer, or pushed off a... What did Edge do to him in the wheelchair? Pushed him off a
threw
ledge.
Him off a ledge.
Yeah. So, Jack Swagger was supposed to wrestle Big E. They rang the opening bell, and Cesaro attacked Big E.
Okay, now, let me ask you guys. Mm-hmm. Was it ever explained on this show why Big E had to wrestle both of these guys? Did I miss something on some show somewhere?
I didn't even realize he had wrestled twice until right now.
Yeah, I don't.
This is why I got confused earlier, because I was reading my notes about Big E's segment and thinking, wait, this is not the Big E segment I remember.
Now, he wrestled Cesaro first, correct?
Yeah.
And so Swagger, Jack Swagger hit him with the Vader bomb.
Yeah.
For the DQ. So maybe Big E requested the match with...
So there's three of us in this room, and none of us saw him request this match.
None of us.
No.
We can all guess or
All right.
speculate. None of us know.
All right. Anybody on Twitter know why Big E had to wrestle both these guys? Let me know.
It didn't matter because he didn't actually have a second match. He was cut off immediately. And
this person here says, was Vinny
beat up twice?
Was Vinny this cynical during the wrestling boom? Did he nitpick Raw and SmackDown in 2000? Nobody nitpicked Thunder and Nitro.
I probably did. I don't know if you can call it nitpicking Thunder.
Yeah, nitpicking is not the word. Just an outright burial.
Yes. I have lost my place for the second time in the show. We've gone too long.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, Big E, the Real Americans got in a fight, and Coulter made them hug, but they were still pissed at each other. And all I know about all this is that Big E is coming off like a giant geek.
All right. Thank God we've got Big Siri. He says, I think they said the match was made during the show by Brad Maddox or whatever. Or whoever he says, since nobody seems to know who's running these goddamn shows.
They didn't even show Brad on the screen.
Well, no, they must have just, during commentary.
Gotcha.
Oh, here we go. Brad Maddox announced that Big E was going to face Swagger on Twitter.
Well, there you go.
Fuck. No wonder I didn't know. If only I'd been doing the second screen experience as I watch on the West Coast.
Yeah. Yeah, that really ticks me off.
It doesn't help. Maybe they need to do a double second screen experience.
Third screen?
Yeah.
I have DirecTV, and I'm watching it live, but I can't watch anything during the commercials on my really cool app.
That's right. That's right. They do that.
So stupid.
That's right. It is idiotic.
Yeah.
This guy says this is nothing compared to Vinny's crusade against R-Truth and Morrison a couple of years ago. That was a crusade.
Okay, I'm looking at the same thing. The guy says, example of Vinny's cynicism, calling a movie god-awful before its premiere. Did you see that clip?
Well, what he's expecting, Vinny, is you just to say, it was a god-awful clip, it may be a great movie.
Craig, did you think that was a good clip?
If that's the best they have, because if you're trying to sell a movie, you would put forth the best.
I would.
Usually they put the best stuff in the preview.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if that's the best they got, this movie's going to blow.
Brian, did you see the clip?
Yeah.
Did it encourage you to go buy a ticket to see Need for
Dude,
Speed?
I didn't see one movie in 2013. You think I'm going to fucking start 2014 with this movie? Think again.
Fair enough. So Cena came out for a promo, talked about all his big matches in Chicago, said if there's going to be change in this company, they would still have to go through him. And the Wyatts interrupted from the big screen, compared Cena to a champion thoroughbred that had gotten old and needed to be put down. And he's promised to take everything Cena had away, and then he would be lonely.
John Cena's always lonely. You watch Total Divas? He sits in his giant house all day and thinks about wrestling.
That's on him. You seen Nikki Bella?
She's not there all the time.
It's too bad.
Craig, you cannot copulate nonstop. I don't know if you've figured this out yet.
Well,
I've been to your house. It's not nonstop.
yeah, you got to have water now and then. Got to replenish.
When I get married, will this conversation be less or be more comfortable?
What are you talking about,
What do you
Vinny?
mean?
What are you talking about?
Details of your love life that I don't need to.
What the hell? What details did we give you? We just said you can't fuck 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Craig.
You've been to his house, too. He wasn't
Yes.
wildly copulating when we were watching a pay-per-view, was he?
He did not have a child in the first 10 years I knew him. That's true.
There you go.
I was thinking about it, though.
I bet you were all the time, apparently. Sure. One time, back when I worked at the fishing magazine, the guy in the cubicle behind me got married.
That's a funny way to start a...
It is funny every time I say it, but it's still true. The guy in the cubicle behind me got married, and he was a buddy of mine. And our other buddy came over and was giving him a hard time. They had been married for like 2-3 months. And he was giving a hard time about still being whipped and not standing up to his wife. And he says, I bet you two still make love face to face, don't you? I just shouted, Andy, do not answer that question. Anything you say will make me uncomfortable.
Does that magazine still exist?
Oh God, no.
Do you ever just kind of sit there and think, I used to work for something called Fishing and Hunting News.
Yes. It was very successful.
Fishing and Hunting News.
Not after I got there, apparently, but for the first 50 years, it was doing great.
You killed Fishing and Hunting News?
Maybe I did. I never thought about that until right now.
Wow.
Perhaps I was not a victim, but in fact the cause.
It could have been.
Although while we're on the subject, my buddy Andy I just mentioned, he started a new one called Northwest Sportsman. Everyone go buy it.
Northwest Sportsman?
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. Yeah. And by the way, Jody here has sent me a screenshot from a month ago. This is from the WWE Twitter. WWE Divas, Oksana WWE, and Alicia Foxy are in tag team action tonight. Hashtag WWE Orlando, hashtag Divas, hashtag fuck Sana.
It doesn't say that.
Well, it says Foxana, but I'm unable to pronounce it correctly, apparently. It may be a speech impediment. Fuck Sana.
I like the guy on SmackDown who held up a big sign that just read "Wing."
You mean
what, the Japanese
Japan
promotion?
Yeah, I don't.
Did it have an asterisk?
There was no
in
asterisk involved.
Oh, I don't know what
it just
it is.
says
Then.
"wing" like a chicken wing. They did the same bit with Rusev they did on SmackDown where he came out and I left, I guess. And then the main event, Daniel Bryan versus Batista. Match started 2 minutes after the top of the hour.
Oh, I got a bunch of updates when you're done.
Randy Orton was out there watching. So what this match was Daniel Bryan kicking Dave Batista's ass for like 10 minutes. Just beat him and beat him and beat him and beat him and beat him.
What's wrong with that?
Manhandled him, dominated him. Well, we'll get to that. So out come the Helmsleys and Kane. And then Orton attacks Bryan for the DQ. So Bryan wins. Then Orton tried to RKO Dave. But Dave pushed Orton off, and Bryan had a knee strike. Everyone brawled, and long story short, Big Dave powerbombed Bryan, and then Hunter pedigreed him and stood over him looking down. So apparently, what I got out of this was that the main event for Mania should be a gauntlet match, so Bryan can beat Kane, Hunter, Dave, and Orton and win the title. Because he's feuding with all of them right now.
Well, there is the fantasy booking suggestion that you do Bryan versus Hunter at Mania early in the card. And the stipulation is that if Bryan wins, he gets put into the main event for the title.
Yeah. Meanwhile...
What's that face for?
Until they do that...
Look at your Twitter.
I try to avoid it.
We'll get to that. In the meantime, the top contender for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, is Dave Batista. And in 2 weeks now, he has been pinned by Alberto Del Rio and completely beaten and humiliated by Daniel Bryan. This is a poor build.
Not to mention the fans were all looking,
All right, let's do Raw.
Raw opened with Hulk Hogan coming out for a promo. First thing I noticed, Jerry Lawler every week is out there in a different Affliction knockoff shirt.
This was an Affliction knockoff shirt?
This week was the exception. They were in Memphis. I have no idea how to describe what he was wearing, except to say that it was gold, and he may have got this at Liberace's estate sale.
All I know is about, I usually start getting messages from the building right around the time the show goes on the air. And it was not, probably not 10 minutes before I started getting the tweets about this shirt. And when you watch the show of late, you have to hear Vince through the commentators talk about how ugly Christian is and all of this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Vince absolutely detested that shirt. Hated it with every ounce of his being.
It was amazing.
And I was told, don't be surprised if JBL for 2 straight hours is just ran. And I don't think he actually even mentioned the shirt once. I didn't hear him mention the shirt.
I don't believe so.
Maybe I missed it. But yeah, Vince hated that shirt. Which is funny, given some of the stuff Vince wears. I guess it's part of his character, though.
I don't know
like
last
the mustard
time
yellow
Vince wore
shirts.
anything like this.
Yeah.
This was unique.
Yeah.
So Hogan plugged the network.
It was a blouse.
Kinda.
Is that what you call it? A blouse?
It might have been. It had a bow.
It had. He was like a vampire.
Only gold. Not like gold LeMay.
It was like a. I don't know. I was just. I kept hearing about the shirt, and then when I saw it, I was like.
It surpassed your expectations.
I don't watch the show until I watch on the West Coast feed. So I've been hearing about this shirt for 3 hours. And I'm like, what could Lawler possibly have been wearing? I have all these ideas in my mind of like a tuxedo, those T-shirts with the tuxedo thing in the front.
Yes.
I'm like, what shirt could Lawler possibly wear that Vince McMahon could detest? And then I saw it and I was like, in a million years, I never would have imagined this monstrosity. It was sickening.
So Hogan talked about the network. In case you're wondering what Hulk Hogan watches on the network, the answer is Hulk Hogan matches, which I completely believe.
It's been pointed out that, in fact, JBL did bury the shirt when he was in the ring for the Memphis Street Fight.
I see.
So there you go.
Oh, you waited until Lawler left the table.
That's right.
Coward.
They're in Memphis. Lawler beat his ass.
That's true.
Pile drive him right there.
That's true. So Hogan talked about watching himself wrestle Ultimate Warrior or Randy Savage or Andre the Giant. Told every single lie about Andre you've ever heard. 93,000 people. 600 pounds. Pressed him over my head. He was so excited watching this, he said he was going to go wrestle all of his neighbors. There's a skit I need to see. Hulk Hogan beats up his neighborhood. But at the last second, rather than beat up his neighbors, he said he had another idea, and he announced the 30-man Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal for WrestleMania, with the winner getting this trophy. And the trophy is...
Oh, no, not the trophy.
The trophy is a base with like an engraving, meaning Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and then it's just a gold statue of Andre the Giant. Beautiful.
7 feet tall. Did you know that?
I did not know it was 7 feet tall.
Yeah, I joked last night that it was a 7-foot solid gold statue.
I see.
And I woke up this morning, and it was all over the place as fact. 7-foot gold statue given to the winner. Solid gold. 7 feet and 450 pounds of solid gold.
A lot more than 450 pounds, I think.
Give it away to a guy at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
There's actually a legit 7-foot statue of Andre in the WWE. It's not made of gold.
No, that's a key factor.
But there is a 7-foot statue.
I haven't been, but I think they bring it to Access every year. It's probably bigger than the actual Andre was, in fact.
Somebody actually asked if Andre was ever as skinny as he was in the statue, and he was.
Yes.
You should have seen Andre when he was a youngster. He was a beanpole. He was the beanstalk.
It was a very slender, athletic Andre. If you load clips of his 1970s Japan matches, you'll see Andre the Giant doing pedigrees and tombstones. And a couple of times, and in fact, one of them is on the network right now, in cage matches, Andre the Giant would finish his opponents with a top rope sit-down splash.
Yeah.
And not kill them.
Nope. A professional.
He was professional. Now, all these jokes aside, and this trophy, obviously it's not going to be 7 feet tall, but at 2 feet tall, it would still be kind of goofy. I love the concept of having these little mini honors that guys can fight for throughout the year besides the normal titles. And it's not something that's going to be won and defended. You have one chance a year to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Yes. I think it's a great addition to the show every year.
Yes.
And you get a statue.
You get
a trophy.
You get a sculpture.
Not enough trophies in professional wrestling.
Yes, this is a fabulous idea. So he was about to leave when Cena came out. Mostly a positive reaction for him. Talked about going crazy during the Hogan-Andre match as a kid. Entered his name into the Battle Royal. Then the Wyatts came out. Bray made fun of Hogan and Cena's catchphrases. Said they were both liars, filling foolish people with false hope. Cena talked about how absurd all this was. Started singing Margaritaville. Said his chair came from Cracker Barrel. He withdrew his name from the Battle Royal and challenged Bray to a match at Mania. Went into Mark Briscoe mode, promised him the ass whooping of a lifetime. And they were all staring at each other and no one knew what was going to happen. And then they just went to commercial.
Shawn Michaels' match with Steve Austin is on the network right now if you want to watch it, everybody. Shawn, remember he took that flip bump into the buckle and couldn't walk the rest of the match?
Yeah, just happened.
Oh, God, this poor guy. I don't know what he did to his back, but it required surgery, plates, and it sucked. I've never had anything like that happen, but I've sprained my back. And I watched this guy walk around the ring, and this poor guy.
I don't think I've watched this in the 16 years now since it aired.
He can barely even bend forward.
I remember, because there was a point here where he's like weeping. Yeah, I remember vividly how this man was in agony, constant agony, mind you, not like it came and went. He was in constant agony for the past 10 minutes of the match.
Oh, yeah.
And then he didn't wrestle for 4 years.
Have you ever sprained your back?
I hurt my back once while training. It was never diagnosed, but it felt very bad. And it was something muscular because after a few days of rest, it went away. It may have been a strain, it may have been a sprain, it may have been a pull. It sucked.
I sprained it at least twice. And we have a drop, actually, of me talking about one of the times when I sprained it, and I went to the doctor, and he was pushing gimmicks on me. He was pushing pills on me. He was like, I'm going to give you some muscle relaxers for your back. And I was like, all right. And he goes, I can also give you some Vicodin. It's like, I think I'll be all right. He says, you should really take the Vicodin. He's pushing all this on me. I was like, wow.
Maybe at a side business.
Anyway, but when you sprain, at least when I sprained my back, you know how when you stand up and you look sideways in the mirror, you've got the bend, the round in your lower back, the curve?
Theoretically, yes.
You don't have it?
My back fat.
Oh, yeah.
But
a skinny person.
Right.
You know, they have that curve in their lower back?
Yes.
Sprain your back, it's from shoulder to ass, a straight line, like the Great Khali. You know, Great Khali has no curve at all in his lower back. I watch that poor guy, and I'm like, I would just imagine this guy is he's on the airplane, he's driving everywhere, just absolute. He's got to be in absolute misery. And you look in the mirror, and it doesn't even look like you. No curve and just a straight. It's like a straight line. Like there's a board down your back. Absolutely sucks. And that's how Shawn Michaels is walking around right now. You see his back? He's looking like the Great Khali a little bit. This poor guy.
Yeah, and he's taking bumps.
The hell of a match for not being able to move.
For a crippled, yes. And I can say that because he got better. Quick aside. Question on Twitter. Vinny, what did you think of the Snickers Godzilla commercial? My 7-year-old and I marked out like crazy. Best commercial ever.
Well, there you go.
It's Godzilla hanging out with his buds, riding ATVs, shooting pool, picking up chicks. It's awesome. Give it a thumbs up. So John Cena wrestled Eric Rowan in the match that had been booked and announced, and then they just shot an angle for it anyway. So the whole time it was just Rowan manhandling Cena, picking him up in a bear hug and shaking him around. And out of nowhere, Cena hit a schoolboy for the win. Hogan was out there.
What a finish and what a match.
It was fine.
I was just watching it, and I was thinking, remember the match that Cena had with Sandow? And then there was a match that he had with, who do you have a match with just a little while ago that was just like, I shouldn't say just a guy, but Cesaro. And every now and then Cena will go in there with a guy who's not like a main eventer, and he'll just have like a long match with him, and they'll do a bunch of things. And so I was kind of thinking about that when I watched his Rowan match. And all of a sudden I blinked, and he'd rolled up Rowan and pinned him.
I'm sorry they didn't give Eric Rowan 15 minutes to work with. You sound surprised.
I was a little surprised.
They didn't bury him. He beat up John Cena for 15 minutes. Or not 15. He beat up John Cena for 5 minutes, got caught with a roll-up and pinned, and he's setting up Cena versus Bray anyway. So the Wyatts were pissed, and they left. And Cena and Hogan were still out there, and they did the giant celebration with... It was exactly what you would think, and if you've been watching for 10 years, it's exactly what they've done before. But, Hogan doing the ear cup, and calling for Cena to join him, and Cena saying, no, I'm not worthy. And the fans all cheer, and Cena says, okay, and he poses. And it was so great.
So apparently the new idea is that, remember a while back I was talking about a Miz and Ziggler disgruntled dudes team?
Mm-hmm.
It's now looking like it may be a 3-man team with Zack Ryder.
Miz Zigzag?
Yeah.
Team Z?
Team...
That's a bad name for a team.
Team Mizler. Mizler? Where do you had Ryder?
I don't know.
I have to think about this for a while. I can't wait for that team.
You're not enthused?
No.
Helmsley's came out on stage for a promo, and they said Daniel Bryan deserved to be fired for attacking Hunter last week, but because he had a niche following, they had agreed not to punish him if he issued a public apology.
Zigzag.
Oh, there you go.
Guy on Twitter.
They repeated the claim that Daniel would not be wrestling Hunter at Mania because he was unworthy to do so. Steph actually did all the talking and actually did totally fine. Usos versus Axelback with the Outlaws on commentary. Ryback, not counting Cena, who withdrew his name, Ryback became the first guy to declare himself in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, saying he would be the best big guy in WWE history. I love that's his goal. That's his genre. Not powerhouse. Not, I don't know, just big guy.
This is one of the best big traps guy.
Yes.
That he's got a chance.
Jimmy Uso tried to take a bump through the ropes, nearly lost his own head in the process. And the Usos won with what is their finish now, which is where one guy does a super kick and dives out of the ring, and in midair he tags in his brother, and his brother does a top rope splash, and in this case, in midair, turned to face the Outlaws and do a crotch chop, and then still landed the splash. That was really cool. Outlaws were just making jokes about how they had been sick and they couldn't wait for the rematch, and they came off as complete clowns here. Which I guess they always have, since they came back.
I should mention, since Steven brought it up, that as noted on the Observer Show yesterday, the death of WCW is coming out, I believe, October 14th. I was scooped by PW Insider.
That's funny.
It's true. But if you've gone up to Amazon to look for it, apparently the only thing up right now is the soft cover. And I believe you can actually pre-order the soft cover right now. So, if you're interested in the hardcover, don't order yet, because there is going to be a hardcover edition. In fact, they were going to do like a limited number of hardcovers, and then they were going to do an even more limited amount of like super special hardcovers, which I don't even know what that means, but it would be like a really special, commemorative, really expensive version that they'd only make like 50 of. And anyway, we put our foot down on that. That's not happening. But we are going to have significantly more hardcovers available now. So if you want a hardcover copy of the book, just hold on, and that will be up on Amazon here pretty soon. So don't order that. Don't pre-order the soft cover if you're going to be wanting the hardcover, because it's coming.
Kane had a backstage meeting with the Shield. He said the first cracks in the unit had shown when he had lost the tag titles to the Rhodes brothers. So he was booking them against the Rhodes tonight so they could prove that they had fixed those cracks. And the Shield were cool with that. But they also made fun of Kane for getting beat up by Daniel Bryan and knocked out by Big Show over and over again. And then they laughed at him and left. And Kane's been Kane now for 15 years, maybe more. And in that time, the guys who have been this disrespectful to Kane in a promo and gotten away with it is Short. And not that it's surprising, and not that it shouldn't have happened or any of that stuff, but it's weird to see guys not be afraid of Kane.
Well, he's a libertarian guy now.
Corporate Kane.
He's just a fella.
Yeah. Get his mask back and be a scary monster again.
I like this guy suggesting the DHM, the Doghouse Mafia.
Big E versus Jack Swagger. Big E also going into the Andre Battle Royal. Said he would win and dedicate it to Andre's win at WrestleMania 2 in a Battle Royal with all the football players. So Swagger threw Big E into the ropes so Cesaro could interfere, but Cesaro refused. And Swagger was yelling at Cesaro, and then Big E schoolboyed him and pinned him. So number one, distraction finish again. Number two, that is 2 schoolboy finishes in 3 matches on the show. So Swagger and Cesaro were yelling at each other, and Coulter yelled at both of them. Finally said it was both of their fault. He was sick of it. He ordered them to shake hands, and they did. But Cesaro squeezed Swagger's hand really hard, and Swagger was in pain and nearly dropped to his knees, and then it ended.
Steve Austin, new WWE champion. That's a good finish.
It was a great finish. The counters they do for the super kick and the stunner. Great stuff.
Poor Sean's about to take the last bump for 4 years.
Yep.
Can you imagine, like, you're Shawn Michaels, your back's killing you, and you're here at WrestleMania on the biggest stage of them all, and you're going to have to stand up here in a second and hope that Mike Tyson doesn't fuck up.
Please don't break my jaw. Please don't break my jaw.
Think about what if you ever listen to like a Mike Tyson interview, he's like the biggest wrestling fan in the whole world.
That's true.
He's just a gigantic fan. And here he is at WrestleMania. He's with Cold Stone Steve Austin. And all these people are cheering and going crazy. He's probably marked out for the match at ringside. And now the time's coming where he's got to punch Shawn Michaels. That's the bravest moment of Shawn Michaels' career right there.
It might have been. Undertaker came out for a promo. Did his whole big entrance, but then before he could even speak, Paul Heyman appeared on the stage. He looked very unhappy to be interrupting this man. He sucked up to him like crazy. Said Taker had gone 21-0 in Mania. Started listing the win streaks of various other superstars like Shawn Michaels and Hunter and Hulk and Steve Austin and Cena. None of them have ever won more than 4 matches in a row at WrestleMania. You won 21.
It's a pretty impressive stat.
When you put it that way, yeah. He said he asked Taker to turn down the match with Brock Lesnar because everyone worshipped The Undertaker, including himself. None of them wanted to see the streak come to an end, and Lesnar was surely going to beat him. And then Taker replied with a complete cornball dialogue about fear and death and the unknown. And he said, "Rest in peace," and that was it.
You don't like this?
I thought Heyman's stuff was great. Taker's response was generic Undertaker promo number 421.
Well, what the hell do you expect him to say?
I don't know. Well, I do have a question. If Paul Heyman had not interrupted, what was Taker going to say? Why was he coming out here?
I don't know.
I don't either. No, this did not do much for me. Rhodes Brothers versus Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. A fun match. They've had tons better. They had a very long heat segment on Goldust, so long that his face paint melted away and revealed Dustin Rhodes. Cody got a hot tag. All 4 guys were in there doing stuff, and came down finally to Seth and Cody, and Seth avoided Crossroads. He avoided the disaster kick, and then he hit a buckle bomb and the curb stomp for the win. It was fun.
There's Tyson right there reminiscing. Mike Tyson, WWE Hall of Famer. Which reminds me, speaking of the WWE Hall of Fame, Did you know that Brian Kendrick was once on The Price is Right with Drew Carey?
I think I remember this. Yes.
And of the two of them, one of them is a WWE Hall of Famer.
That's right.
One of them is not. Incredible stat.
Yeah. AJ and Tamina versus the Bellas. Natty on commentary. Natty was promoting her main event title match by quoting her dad and her Uncle Owen. And a perfectly acceptable tag match. AJ went to put Nikki in the Black Widow, but Nikki turned it into a shock treatment and pinned her. So now Natalya got a title shot tonight. And meanwhile, Nikki also pinned the champ. So there was tension afterwards with Nikki holding the belt and having a stare down with Natalya. So AJ appears doomed.
Well, her doom's coming. I thought it was coming tonight, but it's looking like it's coming at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Renee Young interviewed LL Cool J and what the hell the other guy's name is? Chris O'Donnell. They plugged CSI LA. LL Cool J promised witty banter on his show.
Yeah, he did.
And he also talked about all the wrestlers running around with conditioner on their bodies.
So he said.
Not oil, conditioner.
Yeah, that's what they learned, that they need to get conditioner and put it all over their bodies.
Yes.
I actually thought this was, I was fixing to not like it, but at the end of the day, I greatly enjoyed it.
It was totally fine. Yeah. I mean,
I liked how they wanted to recruit, because they were like, who would you recruit for this job, for NCIS?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we'd recruit John Cena. And there's a pause, and they're like, and maybe the Bellas, we have a job for them.
That's right.
And I was like, well, you ain't getting Cena then, buddy.
That's true. No, LL is obviously a very charismatic guy and really one of the bigger stars they've had doing this in a while. He's a much bigger star than Aaron Paul, for example. And then we had an amazing segment. Daniel Bryan came out for a promo. And for a while, it was nothing new. He was not going to apologize for all his actions. He was going to fight back against the authority. He said it would all end tonight, which turned out to be true. He said he and the fans are going to occupy Raw. He said members of the Yes movement were going to take over the show until they got what they wanted. And suddenly fans began to fill the ring. Fans in gray Daniel Bryan shirts all ran into the ring, started chanting yes, and they went to commercial. They went to commercial.
What did you think right before they went to commercial?
I did not think it was like I didn't think it was unplanned or anything.
Well, no, before they went to commercial, there was only like eight guys out there.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be horrible. They found 8 dorks in Daniel Bryan shirts, and they're all going to stand in the ring and cheer. I was really, really worried. But then they came back from commercial.
I have good news for you.
Giant sea of Daniel Bryan fans.
There may have literally been 100 fans in the ring and around ringside, just crammed in like sardines. All of them wearing his shirt. All of them chanting yes.
Yeah.
And Bryan standing on the turnbuckle like their messiah. It was an amazing sight. So they announced they had taken over the ring. They were not going anywhere until Hunter answered his challenge. Hunter and Steph came out very pissed off. Hunter called the fans dirty little hippies and trolls.
It's not very nice.
He said he was giving them 30 seconds to leave the ring before they were arrested. They all chanted no. Hunter was egging on one guy he was egging on a fat guy in a shirt who was too small. That was too small for his gut. Finally, he said, all right, I'm going to call security on you. And Bryan said, go ahead. I will take every fan here. We will all go into the parking lot and you can do Raw in an empty arena. And the fans all cheered. And I actually believe these fans, 12,000 or however many were there, they would have followed Daniel Bryan into the parking lot. Probably best they didn't. So Hunter got security, which was 2 dudes.
Yeah, how many times have I ranted and raved about TNA? Something's happening. I'm like, where's security? Why is there no security? And here we were on Raw, and there's 100 fans or whatever surrounding the ring. And Hunter wants him out of there, and he calls security, and it's 2 guys. I'm probably going to sound like the most biased WWE fan in the world, but this was awesome. He wanted 2 guys to get all these dudes out of there. And then they go down to the ring, they take one look at everyone, and they turn around.
Yes.
This was awesome.
Yes.
This is how you do comedy.
You're like, what the fuck you want us to do?
Exactly.
So then Stephanie. And I have, over the years, been a harsh critic of this woman. And frankly, she was much worse in the days before this, our website. But never been a big fan of Steph as a performer. She was fabulous in the segment.
Well, you want to know why?
Because she was playing a raving, screaming witch?
I was given the impression that she had a lot of stuff that she either wanted to say or did say to CM Punk.
I see.
And this was her opportunity to just flip her lid.
I see.
Disrespecting the family, blah, blah, blah. So if you're wondering what we were talking about on Observer Radio last night, this would have been it.
Mm-hmm. So she said that everyone was being manipulated by Bryan. Said he had a lot of power, but power could go to your head. I cackled. She asked the fans if Bryan was worth it. They all chanted his name. There were actually some boos, and I think it's from people who could not hear what she was saying and were just booing her. So last week, you remember Steph talking about how her family owned everything. She owned the ring, she owned the building, and everything was hers. Bryan said she didn't own any of this. Finally, Hunter could take no more. He said, "This ends now. Get the next match going. Play somebody's music." And they stormed backstage, all pissed off. They played Damian Sandow's music. And Damian comes out, and he stops in the middle of the ramp, just looks in the ring at 100 people in Daniel Bryan shirts. He's just befuddled. And nothing to do. Bryan encouraged him to come down and join the movement, which actually would have been awesome. They could have handed him a shirt and everything.
Could have just taken any guy that they are doing nothing with, and this would have been his babyface turn.
True. So the McMahons came back out, started screaming at Damian. He pled his case, and this is the real point where Stephanie just went batshit. She said this was the family business. It was her great-grandfather, her grandfather, her father, and then as soon as she was born, it was mine! And she was shrieking like a spoiled little witch, screaming at everyone to get out of her ring. Couldn't believe they had the gall to stand up for her. It was like she was playing, and this may be a stretch, but she was playing the part of someone who had grown up spoiled and rich and was being told no for the first time in her 30s.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it was like Stephanie on television for God knows how long has been the completely spoiled princess, but she's had to put on this facade of being the owner, and she's professional, and she's wearing a suit, and she's talking all of her corporate speak, and she's doing all of the WWE professional stuff. And finally, there was a moment where you saw the real Stephanie McMahon. That was supposed to be the angle here, and she was awesome.
She was fantastic. So Bryan said he was not leaving until he got his Mania match with Hunter. Hunter paused for a minute to collect his thoughts. He said he actually liked Daniel and had tried to protect him because if Bryan was successful, others in this company were going to run him out. But now Bryan had pushed him to this point, so he accepted Bryan's challenge. He vowed to put an end to all of this once and for all. He's agreed to the match at Mania and said, "Now everyone leave." He started to go backstage, but Bryan said, no, I want more. Everyone cheered, and he said, if I beat you at Mania, then I get into the title match, and it's a three-way. The crowd went nuts. Hunter snapped, and he charged the ring, but the same two security dudes that would not fight 100 people held him back. And as they were carrying him backstage, he grabbed a mic and screamed Bryan had a deal, and he was going to put a stop to all this in New Orleans. And everyone went crazy, and it finally ended. An all-time great pro wrestling angle.
It was great.
It was fabulous.
What I loved about it is sometimes you see something and the heel agrees to something and you're like, why would you agree to this? Why would you give in to this guy? Why would you give him everything that he's asked for? This doesn't make any sense. But I thought this was awesome because Hunter's pride has gotten to him. Yes. He is giving Daniel Bryan everything because he is certain that he can beat this man and end it. He has let his pride go to his head, exactly as Stephanie was talking about earlier in the fucking segment. He has let his pride go to his head, There's no way he could lose to this little troll. I'll give you everything because I'm going to beat you. At the end of the day, he's going to get his ass handed to him. And, I didn't mention this in the SmackDown review, but SmackDown review, they just do a generic, kind of, it's not really generic, I guess, because Batista was in there, but it's Batista and Kane against Bryan and Big Show. And they do this match. It's just a SmackDown main event on a show that you could watch in 10 minutes if you really wanted to. There's I don't even know if it was billed on Raw or anything. But anyway, the point of this is, in this match, it's just a match on SmackDown. It's not a pay-per-view. It's not even Raw. Daniel Bryan cradles and pins Kane. And my God, this crowd went crazy. And I was just sitting there thinking, I'm going to be in the crowd in New Orleans on WrestleMania Sunday. And they sure as shit better have Daniel Bryan beat Triple H.
I highly recommend it.
Which actually is going to raise the interesting question because you many times when a guy comes out twice, he doesn't get as big a reaction the second time. So I hope they don't completely ruin the main event. Like if he wins a title in the main event, I hope that people are exhausted because they went crazy for him earlier. You know what I mean? But anyway, the point is when he beats Hunter, and presumably when he wins a title, this is 72,000 of the hardest of the hardcore WWE fans in the entire world. And that will be a moment that if you are there, you will never, ever forget. I can guarantee it.
Indeed. So after that, it was Sheamus versus Christian in their best of 1 million series. Fans got to vote on the Stips, and they ended up voting for a Memphis street fight. The other options were Falls Count Anywhere or Best of 3 Falls, which shockingly did not win. Because when you've seen Sheamus and Christian 100 times, what you really want to see is see them 3 more times in one night. So, if you're wondering what a Memphis street fight is, it's a street fight with a bunch of guitars and 1 drum. So, they beat the hell out of each other. Christian, especially when he grabbed the kendo stick and just destroyed Sheamus with it. And it was actually a great creative finish. Christian's working Sheamus over in the ring. He's working him over in the corner. He goes to the other corner and picks up a big drum, a big bass drum. And as he's carrying it across the ring, presumably to smash Sheamus with it, Sheamus fires up and hits a brogue kick through the drum to Christian's face and pins him. And it looked like this boot actually did hit Christian in the face, which would suck. It was a very fun match. I am ready for this feud to be over now.
Not after this one. I'm ready for this feud to continue forever. I thought this match was awesome. Announcers are marking out. This match was... I've seen them wrestle many times. Christian... Remember when I said that Muto got the most out of anybody? Mm-hmm. Everyone's like, Bryan just now figured... No, I figured this out in 2001. But the point is, this is nothing new that Christian is an excellent worker who can get a long, great match out of anybody. I was just watching this and I thought, oh, God, dear God almighty. Christian and Sheamus again, for the love of God, fixing to hate it. And then about midway through, I was like, this match is good. And then by the end, I thought, I'm going to watch that match again. It's a great little match. So thumbs up to these two guys.
2 suggestions on team names. I like Zolf Zigzanin. And then you also have Zack, Ziggler, and The Miz. Somebody go find Tom Zank to manage them, and they can be the Z-Men.
It's a good one. Mm-hmm. I like Miz, Zack, and Ziggler, the downside guarantee.
Yes. Where in the hell are we? Okay. Batista and Orton were backstage. They, of course, were both enraged at the possibility that the title match would now be a 3-way. And the Helmsleys had left. So they were forced to confront Brad Maddox.
Oh, my God. Look on the Twitter right now.
Is this the F4W Live hashtag?
Click the link for the creepy doll.
Oh, no. Oh, is this the Hogan one?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I've seen this picture.
I'm retweeting it to the world.
That's pretty creepy. So, yes, Orton and Batista were ranting at Maddox, and Maddox, poor guy, said, look, the Helmsleys have left. Their last orders were for you two to put aside the differences and take care of Bryan tonight. And Orton said he was willing to do this if Dave was, And Dave looked at him and just walked away. Rusev came out and did his entrance.
This again.
As noted, I love Rusev, or at least I used to. But this, doing the exact same, essentially a promo for his debut, is essentially a promo for his debut, even though he's been there. But doing the exact same promo for his debut every single time, exactly the same on every single show, it's like that freaking very first Fandango promo. And I'm so sick of this already. And it's going to probably be another month of it. Wyatt did a promo on the screen. Long story short, Bray has accepted John Cena's challenge for a match at Mania.
Love when Bray talks about his dad.
Yeah, there's a line here and his brother, in fact. So, Big Show and Bryan versus Orton and Batista was the main event. They did commercials during the intros, wrestled for a minute, and then did commercials again. Yes?
Go back up and see the new one Tony posted. I'm retweeting this one, too.
You did do another one.
Yeah.
I missed. Let's try this again. Yeah, great. Okay, that takes ingenuity.
It's a creepy Hogan doll peeking in.
It's the, he posted on the board, it's the Thunderlips doll from Rocky 3.
Oh, is that what it is?
But it's a very scary plastic Hulk Hogan head on a doll's body.
Who would buy this?
I don't know.
You're going to buy this for your child?
I don't know.
They should go through the Toys R Us receipts, and anybody who bought this for their child will be given a visit. This is the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. That's worse than a Charlie McCarthy doll.
So everyone on the show has been declaring themselves entries into the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. How in the hell can Big Show not be in that match?
Well, maybe you will be.
What else does he have to do?
I don't know.
Big Show should be cutting promos every week about how he's, Andre was the original Giant, which isn't exactly true, but worked from here. And Big Show is the Giant of this generation, and he wants to carry on the honor of Giants. Prove that big men are better.
Some talk this might be the pre-show match. Do you remember that WrestleMania where the pre-show Battle Royal was won by Kane?
Yes.
It's one of the biggest pops I've ever seen, I swear to God, in my entire life. When Kane won a Battle Royal.
Yeah. To get a title shot at whatever Chavo had.
Yeah.
I think it was the ECW belt at the time. People love Kane. So they had a typical Raw main event tag match. Bryan was running around at the end, fighting both heels by himself, hitting knee strikes all over the place. Orton went for an RKO. Bryan avoided it, and I wrote here, hit another RKO for the win. Pretty sure I meant he hit another knee strike for the win. And crowd went nuts. Big Show carried Bryan around on his shoulders. Whole place was chanting yes. And it took them 6 months longer than it should have to get here, but they are finally getting 100% behind the guy they should have been behind all along.
They've got to put the title on him.
Not even this company can be that stubborn to not do it.
No, you know what, though? Let me explain myself. I think that Daniel Bryan needs to win this title at WrestleMania. I think if you do anything else, you're really stupid, to put things simply. However, I can see them thinking to themselves, if we screw Daniel Bryan, let's say that Triple H somehow comes out, like he beats Triple H sneaks out in the main event, somehow fucks Bryan gets pinned, there's a massive riot, the building's torn down. But the next night on Raw, Vince returns, and as someone here noted on Twitter, in Stephanie's entire selfish, childish rant, she never one time mentioned her father. So I can see them doing something like Vince comes back, he says enough of the bullshit, at Extreme Rules, we are going to have a very special match. It is going to be Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. It is going to be inside a steel cage, which will be inside Hell in a Cell, which will be surrounded by barbed wire and fire, and Stephanie and Triple H will be hung in a shark cage above this whole contraption, like making just some completely ridiculous match where the guy's going to win. and using it as a way to try to sell more network subscriptions post WrestleMania. I can in my crazed mind see them thinking like this and doing it, but Occam's razor, at the end of the day, I think that Daniel Bryan is just going to win the title at WrestleMania and everybody will go home happy. Because it's WrestleMania. Why would you do anything else?
You know, they've just come out with this network recently, and I've been watching a lot of late 1980s WCW, they've called it. It was Jim Crockett Promotions, or the NWA of the time. But it's a long series of a very young, talented, popular wrestler by the name of Lex Luger. And he keeps fighting Ric Flair for the World Championship and having great matches and getting fucked. And the crowd really, really, really wanted him to win. He never did. The fans eventually stopped caring. And then when he did win, it was too late. And obviously, amazing statement here. Daniel Bryan, different than Lex Luger. I know, hard to believe. But for God's sake.
In what way?
Many.
Tell me more about this.
He's small. Lex was big. But it is similar in that his popularity is at its peak right now. He will never be more popular than he is right now. Unless you give him the title right now. This is the time. This is the time! For God's sake, they have to.
I think they're going to do it. But you never know. You never know. All right, well, let's play Wyatt Raw.
All right, Raw.
Did it really deserve a heaving sigh?
I don't know.
It's just your gimmick now?
I'm a little overwhelmed right now, to be honest.
With what?
Craig.
Oh, well, yeah.
Craig and Bryan. I'm not good in social situations. Can barely do one-on-one.
This is a social situation?
Yes.
Well, after you have a couple pops, you're fine.
I start getting warmed up about 20 minutes into the show. First 20 minutes is rough going. I'm hitting my peak now. So let's keep going. Hurry.
All right. So a show opened with Hunter in the ring, saying whatever happened next would be the fans' fault. He was being all cerebral assassin, speaking in a low voice and growling and playing the tough guy. Talked about how he's going to talk to Bryan man-to-man later. And then he stops, and he perks up and he says, until then, we got a hell of a show!
It's very pleasant.
And then Batista interrupted, and he went back to being bummed. This is the many faces of Hunter Hearst Helmsley here.
He's a typical crazy guy.
Yeah. Dave was upset that Hunter had given Bryan a chance to worm his way into his match. Hunter was appalled that Dave thought Bryan could beat him.
We're all completely distracted by the picture, Vinny. Have you seen it yet?
I have not yet.
It is uncanny.
All right, hang on.
It's up on, I'll retweet it to the world in case for the numerous individuals not following Bryan's friend Craig.
Oh, yeah, you can really tell there. There's no question as I'm looking at one of Big Show's arms and the side of his head.
Not even close, this guy says.
Yeah.
Man.
It's close. I will concede it is closer than that photo makes it look.
That is true.
I got your bad side.
Well, it's more anyway.
If he would have stood up next to the TV, we could have got a good.
That actually may have been a good idea. But
in fact,
the match is over. Oh, too late.
Let me put some. I can rewind.
No.
That's a flattering photo right there. Oh wow! Look at that. Not quite the same thing right there. All right, let's go on.
So Dave came out, was all pissed, and Orton came out, and he agreed with Big Dave, he said. He was also pissed at Hunter. Hunter was pissed that they both believed Bryan had a chance to beat him. Somewhere in here, Dave referred to Orton as a paper champion. That made me laugh. And they were sniping at each other, and Hunter tried to leave, but they caught him. And Hunter snapped. He said he was sick of trolls like Bryan. He was sick of Hollywood movie stars telling him what to do. And he was sick of guys who were so screwed up in the head they couldn't win on their own. That was a reference to Orton. And finally, he announced that the winner of the match between himself and Bryan would be in the championship match. It was going to be a triple threat no matter what, and he was going to try and take the title from both of them. He stormed out.
That's how you get shit done.
He did what shit got done here, that's for sure. And Dave was shouting at him, and he turned around, and Orton hit him with an RKO. And it was a very good segment. Everyone was a good performer, and it did not go on forever.
You know, some people, they wear a certain color, and they don't look good in it.
Oh, no.
Don't get me started.
Just go with me on this. Apparently, Dave's...
I don't look good in purple.
Sure. Apparently, Dave's is black. He looked like
It looked good in black.
He looked like Gollum with sunglasses.
It doesn't look good. He would have looked like that in green. More so.
Well, in
You
a
looked at
loincloth.
Dave Bautista and you thought of Gollum.
Yeah, his.
Hang on.
Oh, good God. If you find
Gollum.
yes, I mean a
It's low
well-developed.
on my list
Dave?
of low on my list of
Okay, just the head.
doppelgangers.
Just the head.
Dave Bautista.
Put sunglasses on him and douchebag him up a little bit, and Gollum would be a perfect Dave.
Well, I do have to say,
Gollum sunglasses.
I do have to say that Whitney was in the airport in Tampa,
I remember this.
and she ran into Big Dave.
See? Douchebag.
It's not Dave Bautista.
She ran into Big Dave, and this was years ago. So like, she had seen him on television before, but she had no idea who he was, and she's trying to explain who this guy is, and she's going, "Big guy, a lot of muscles." That doesn't help. He's got like a turtle head. And when I finally figured out what she's talking about, I was like, "Hey, you're right. Does have a turtle head." So yeah, I guess that's kind of Gollum-like.
That was the same year I saw Mr. Anderson, who was Mr. Kennedy, coming back from Miami. Not Miami. Yeah.
He gave her the once over, by the way.
I'm sure he did.
You're-
Said, you do it. Anyway, Mr. Kennedy was walking through the airport. He had a WrestleMania hat and a WrestleMania sweatshirt on and acted annoyed when people talked to him.
I remember this.
Typical.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anyway, my story about not looking good in purple. My buddy Wang.
Excuse me.
His name.
Got a buddy named Wang.
I got a buddy named Wang.
Who doesn't?
His name is like Tim or Ed or something.
So you'll
but-
never guess what he shows up in last night to do the Nogi class.
Purple?
Purple?
Goddamn purple rash card. With no sleeves, by the way, to show off the guns. It's a purple Wang all night long. I mean, seriously. You didn't think this was going to happen? Of every rash card, you chose the purple one? Not making this up.
You never could.
He's the most amazing dude.
A purple Wang, you say?
Yeah, all night. Everywhere I look, purple Wang.
Flopping out on the mat.
Yep.
Remind me again why I don't go to Jits.
I choked that purple Wang so many times.
What a show this
Fact.
is.
It's just a fact. I'm not making this up.
Oh, my God.
Don't you spit that water all over Craig. He's thinking about it. Where were
Thinking
we?
about it, I shall spit this water out.
Yeah, all over Vinny.
Thinking about the purple Wang.
Comedy. Yeah, don't think about Purple Wang and then spew that water everywhere. Let's move on. Sheamus and Titus.
Hell, I have my world-class notes all of a sudden. Craig's phone vibrated.
No, he didn't.
Was it mine? Oh.
Yes, it did. Show is falling off a cliff, Lance Storm says.
We've disappointed Lance. All right, Usos versus the Real Americans. There's a "We the People" chant in San Antonio, which I thought was funny. So the crowd was not much into it early. Had a lot of time, got people into the comeback. It was all good by the end. And one Uso hit a dive on Swagger out of the ring. His brother tried to hit a dive on the other side to Cesaro, but Cesaro cut him off with an uppercut and pinned him with a neutralizer. Very good TV match. And there was, in fact, no dissension from the Americans, but it's probably not a coincidence that in the end, Cesaro won the thing by himself.
What happened?
Love the finish.
That was a good match. I did like the forearm from the floor.
They plugged the Slam City cartoon.
Oh, jeez.
Anybody watch it yet?
I watched one episode.
What'd you think?
It could be worse.
Really?
We were in the
It's a cartoon.
I heard it was good.
we were in Toys R Us, and my son looked at them. They have toys already for him, and he just grabs one. He looks at it. He goes, "I don't like it."
Wow.
So gets a thumbs down from my.
When the kids
7-year-old.
don't like it, there's trouble.
Yeah.
Son is not an easy guy to impress.
Well, he's got the Rumblers, which are actually smaller than the Slam City guys. So just unimpressed.
Kane met with the Shield backstage. I feel like I've said that 14 times tonight. He said things had gotten out of hand on SmackDown. Everyone had made bad decisions. They needed to be reliable if they wanted to still be an asset for the Helmsleys. And they said they were a unit, and he said they better do the right thing.
Just as like they've got an idea for a match. Outlaws, I guess Outlaws and Kane against the Shield. And so now they got to write a bunch of stuff to get there. And it's so wacky. Corporate Kane, the Shield. It's wacky. Not into it.
Hornswoggle was out the ringside, passing out St. Patrick's Day swag. Bad News Barrett interrupted. I was hoping his bad news would be, Hornswoggle, your hair sucks. And he was go back down. But no, his bad news was that it was St. Patrick's Day, so everyone would drink and then vomit and then live with regret. And Lawler said, that wouldn't be bad news for some people.
Which is funny because he doesn't drink at all.
Yeah, that is true. Sheamus versus Titus O'Neil. Yes, Sheamus versus O'Neil because, St. Paddy's Day. So Christian was on commentary. First, he announced he was in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Then he lit into the announcers, who he noted had been calling him skinny and ugly for weeks. And this was his chance for revenge, and he took it. They were caught off guard by this. Amazing.
He hijacked the announcing.
He did.
He was awesome.
Yes, he was. So Titus got a hold of Hornswoggle in the ring, slapped him around for some easy heat. He tried an SOS slam, but when he threw a little guy over his head, Sheamus caught him. Then he used him as a weapon to hit Titus in the gut, and finally hit the bro kick and won. Crowd enjoyed this by the end. And then we had another Renee Young in-ring promo. Sheamus bragged about beating Tight Arse O'Neil. He bragged about Ireland's win in the Six Nations Rugby Tournament.
Tight Arse?
That's what he called him. And then he entered the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I love the build for this Battle Royal. It's just guys saying, I'm going to get in this match and I'm going to win.
This is the Battle Royal is quickly becoming, I think, one of the I don't want to say like a big draw, like no one's buying the goddamn show for the Battle Royal. Mm-hmm. But as far as like things you're looking forward to at WrestleMania,
yes, this
Battle Royal is quickly becoming one of those things.
Yes.
And hopefully they spend some time and they make it fun. If you make it fun, it's gonna start to be a cool thing every year. If you make it stupid, it's a waste of time.
Well, let's hope they don't do it like the Money in the Bank and they have the pay-per-view, the Andre Memorial Battle Royal pay-per-view every year.
Oh, that's what we need.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we need. My favorite line remains when Christian essentially called JBL fat.
Yes.
And JBL said, and I quote, "It's a sign of affluence."
I've been using that all week.
I didn't guess that.
So there's a line for both of you for the rest of your life. It's awesome. And by the way, have I mentioned how awesome Renee Young is?
You have, but go ahead.
She's great.
She is fantastic.
She's like, just everything she does is great. Like she's an actual, I don't know. I don't want to bury all the other women, but my God, the women on this show, I don't know.
She comes off like an actual human being, yes. And frankly, that puts her above many of the men as well.
Yeah, she can talk. She can carry on a conversation. She doesn't seem like she's reading scripted stuff. I think she's great.
And she's dating Dean Ambrose, right?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? No?
I don't know.
Pretty sure it's Dean Ambrose.
I don't know. Move on.
Okay.
All right. Arnold Schwarzenegger and his co-star are coming to Raw next week, and they had Arnold doing the yes chant. And it turns out Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine will be there as well.
Zoinks.
What a show. John Cena came out for a promo. He was hated this week, which is funny because he was pretty much loved universally last week. He talked about wrestling 3,500 matches over the past 12 years.
Preposterous.
Have you done the math?
He hasn't done 3,500 matches, guaranteed.
All right.
About half of that.
He admitted he was afraid of Bray Wyatt because, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I believe he said Bray had no interest in winning and losing. He just wanted to convince the fans that Cena was an evil liar. That's not how I promote a match. By saying one guy doesn't care if he wins or loses.
Dude, he doesn't care if he lives or dies.
Yeah.
So winning and losing is low on their list.
So Cena said at Mania he'd be fighting for his legacy.
Because...
Yes?
Yes.
Because if he loses this match, the legacy of John Cena is out the
understand
window.
Either. Well, it's not that
it is a match at a WrestleMania.
Somehow.
Against a guy.
Bray's whole point is that John Cena is a false idol and not the man he pretends to be. and somehow he is going to expose this via a wrestling match. I don't understand his plan to get from point A to point B.
All I know is my son is a big fan of John Cena, and there was a time in his life when he was terrified of the Wyatts.
He's not terrified anymore?
He puts up with them.
Wow.
But he keeps asking, Daddy, why do you like those guys so much? I said, because they're awesome. But anyway.
Scar him for life.
He's very much looking forward to seeing John Cena whip Bray Wyatt.
Well, I hope John Cena whips Bray Wyatt.
I'm sure he's going to.
Is the youngster going to New Orleans?
Yes, he is. Mm-hmm. He's going to see a Ring of Honor show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's stoked.
They're fun. So, Bray appeared on the screen in a Cena shirt, talked about children believing in superheroes who wear masks and capes because they want to believe the world was good, but that was all a lie. So, you see a million promos every year. And outside, unless the guy tells a joke, the fans never really react to any line anyone says. They'd say, I'm going to kick your ass. And the fans go, yay. Or you've never fought a guy like me. And they go, yay. And then there's never any real passion. But then when Bray said, Cena, you're going to go home to your plastic girlfriend.
Yeah, they popped.
I can't even call it a pop. They were horrified. That he would, how dare you cross that line, Bray Wyatt?
He broke kayfabe. They're not together right now.
I guess so.
Oh, I just assumed he had something that he blew up in the closet.
No, he's talking about Nikki.
I know.
Okay. So,
It's rubber, not plastic.
what's in your closet?
Purple Wang.
It's out of the closet. Can we move on?
So, Wyatt said he did not care if he lived or died, as long as the world saw Cena as he did. So, yes, his goal is, in fact, to turn John Cena heel. Orton versus Bryan in a no DQ match. There's a clip here of Batista backstage telling Renee he had made a big mistake coming back and storming out of the building. The announcing here was, let's start with two negatives. The announcing was horrible. It was frankly like you and I when I'll say something and then you'll hear the opposite somehow.
What are you talking about? I've never done that.
And you'll say things like, did we talk about Dolph Ziggler 5 minutes after I talked about him?
You did it earlier in this show, actually.
I didn't. Anyway, move on.
So that was no good. And they all did it. They all had no idea what each other was saying. I don't know if they were all getting yelled at and not listening to each other or what.
We're all thinking about our next point.
Then, this isn't really a negative, but it made me laugh. There's a commercial in here for some new toys they have. They're kind of like Legos, generic knockoff Legos. In this commercial, there's like John Cena and Sheamus, and then Undertaker on a motorcycle. Are these toys 10 years old?
Apparently.
So, that made me laugh. All right, all that aside, Daniel Bryan had a great match. Don't want to alarm anyone with that news. Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton in a no DQ match was great.
I thought this whole segment was awesome, start to finish.
So, let's see, what was the finish? Orton, they hit each other with kendo stick a lot, beat the hell out of each other. And finally, Orton's had enough of this, and he goes to grab a chair. And he's going to kill Bryan with this thing, but he grabs the chair and he turns around, and there's Batista, who spears him to death. And then Dave turns around, and Bryan hits a knee strike and knocks him out of the ring, and Bryan turns and pins Orton for the win. And the one good thing about the announcers, they were clearly pointing out this would be a title change in New Orleans.
It's true.
The best part was Randy losing his mind on a fan and just...
Yes.
The fan yelled,
It's
that's
no
a DQ.
DQ. And he
pulled out he was on the floor, and he pulled out a kendo stick. I didn't even hear the fan. But
Yeah.
I gather he alerted, he wanted the ref to call for the bell.
Yes.
Yes.
And Orton pointed the stick at him, and he lost his mind. So, yeah. And Batista hit a powerbomb on Orton after the match. Yeah. They plugged the network again. Jerry Lawler said it was working perfectly.
Ha!
Fuck you.
Wow.
Paul
By the way, just a quick network update for everybody. If you got the free week and everything sucked and so you quit, they're giving you another free week. From now until Saturday, you can get another free week. So even if you had your free week and quit, you can give it another shot this week if you think that maybe it'll work this time. Mm-hmm. If, for example, you got rid of your Xbox and got a Roku or an Apple TV, or just watched on your computer.
You can keep the Xbox, by the way. They do other things besides the network.
Yes, you don't have to trade in the Xbox. So funny over there, Craig.
Nothing. The world you live in where the Xbox is only for WWE. It's just.
I never said it was only for WWE.
You said you should throw it out.
Yes.
Did I say throw it out?
Yes.
I don't like video games. Throw the goddamn thing
Exactly.
out.
I actually feel better. He doesn't listen to himself either.
You can't play video games on the Roku? I can't play Words with Friends on there? By the way, I helped Whitty get a 22-point word on Words for Friends the other day.
With Granny?
I don't know who it was with. Cassian.
What?
It's the word I found.
Is that a princess in the Star Wars universe?
Exactly.
You found this word by throwing letters on the board and hitting submit until it said okay, didn't you?
How dare you? You don't think I know what Cassian is? I can work out.
Use Cassian in a sentence.
I'm going to get some, instead of getting whey protein, I'm going to get some protein with casein in it.
All right, I don't know what it means.
Thank you.
Paul Heyman came out for a promo. His point here was that, yes, Undertaker is defeated at WrestleMania, but if you go back over the past several years, he has faced men like Mark Henry and Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and he has nearly failed every single time. Meanwhile, Brock Lesnar has met these same men and destroyed them. And he offered video evidence of Brock Lesnar destroying Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Mark Henry. It was, of course, great.
It was great.
Full of violence and carnage.
Great
Which
storyline.
is why I watched this show. Steph and Hunter had a meeting backstage. She did not believe Hunter when he said he just wanted to talk to Bryan. She also said Triple H winning the belt would not be best for business. He assured her he had everything under control and said she should leave him alone to take care of it.
Excellent true wife.
It would not be best for business. I can confirm.
Sammy says Roku does have games.
Yeah, a couple.
Sammy, you're not helping.
It has Angry Birds. Maybe you've heard of that.
No, it doesn't. Does it really?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, my God. Don't buy a Roku for Angry Birds.
No, get an Apple TV.
For Angry Birds?
No, for everything else in the world.
All right.
Waiting on you, Vinny.
Thought the conversation was going somewhere. Fandango versus Goldust. So they're having this match, and it was not very good. There was a spot where Summer got knocked off the apron into Cody's arms, and she was cool with it until Fandango caught her, and then she had to act all pissed off. So things were going bad anyway, and then Goldust was, I actually, believe it or not, I heard you and Dave talking about this. Goldust, I don't know what happened, but he was bleeding before the Hurricane Rana spot. And then he tried his Hurricane Rana, and I don't know what happened, but he landed wrong on his shoulder and or side and or head. And he laid there for a while unmoving. And Fandango tried a suplex, and then they both just fell down. That's a bad sign. And then finally Fandango just missed his leg drop, and Goldust hit the spinning suplex for the win. And then he did the I won and I'm pissed off gimmick. Kicking the ropes, staring at Fandango. Cody was trying to calm him down. A failure.
I heard he may have got busted open when they were brawling in the corner, and Fandango just punched him right in the face.
Oh, nice.
Well, that would do it.
Yeah, it wasn't a gimmick. He was ticked off. That thing was a mess in that ring.
Yeah. They plugged an Undertaker promo on Main Event, and I watched that. I can't even call SmackDown the D show anymore. It's like the H show. Behind Raw, Main Event, NXT, and pay-per-views.
Anybody have trouble with Main Event today, by the way? Anybody listening? Because I got some reports that there were problems. We're less than 3 weeks away. And this person, by the way, says Goldust wrestled on Main Event, so he couldn't have been hurt too bad.
That's good. Kane came out for a promo, talked about the Raw takeover in Memphis, and said Bryan had to have had help set it up. It must be Jerry Lawler's fault. Shield came out. They bullied Lawler into getting in the ring. Kane and the announcers both mentioned that Lawler was not in fighting shape. They never used the words heart or attack. And finally, Rollins assured Lawler that Daniel Bryan would not be coming out to make the save because the Shield always did what was best for business. And then they turned to face Kane. And this was the cool brawl they had. The one on SmackDown was just whatever. So they're having this brawl. It's 3-on-1. Kane is still a monster. He's holding his own for a bit. And then he grabs Seth for a chokeslam. But Ambrose zooms in out of nowhere and swipes his arm away. And then Kane turns and gets dropped by a spear by Reigns. Looked really cool. And the crowd was unsure what to make of it. They hit the triple powerbomb again.
It's funny that I watched this before SmackDown. And after watching SmackDown and you recapping the segment, It's like, hell of a plan, Kane.
He's not.
You formulated this in the back and thought it'd be a great idea.
They've never called him the big smart machine.
I guess not.
Aside from wearing a really, really stupid shirt last Monday, what exactly did Jerry Lawler have to do with anything?
He's in Memphis.
He's in Memphis, and so he has a lot of pull.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So the best part of all this was, first of all, I strongly endorse keeping the Shield together and just turning them all babyface. I don't know what's going to happen. That's what I want to happen. So they hit this move. They've destroyed Kane. They've left him lame. And they've backstabbed him and beat him up 2 shows in a row. And as they're leaving the ring and the screen is fading to black, you just hear JBL very casually say, I guess they don't like Kane.
By the way, the Shield.
Watching SmackDown.
The Shield has my son's endorsement.
Oh, really?
He looks at me after the segment. Dad, I'm really starting to like those guys.
We need to get him on this show.
Yeah.
It would be awesome, actually. His voice isn't quite as deep as mine, but...
All right, so this guy says main event cut out for me on the Xbox. This guy says on the Android tablet it refused to play, but it did work on the PC. And this guy on Apple TV said a few glitches where it buffered, but nothing too bad.
All right. Funkadactyls versus AJ and Tamina. Yes, Funkadactyls, both of them. Naomi was back with a blinged out eye patch. Bella's wrong commentary. Brie has a new shirt. Brie has a boyfriend, of course, a fiance named Daniel Bryan, whose catchphrase is yes. So Brie has a shirt that reads, and I'm not making this up, her shirt reads, just say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, I don't know. So the Bella's wrong
I mean,
commentary.
you prefer the picture of a goat?
Well, that's a bad shirt as well.
On the list of Daniel Bryan merchandise, this is the top of the list.
This is better than the hat beard thing.
Did they really make a thong with the beard on it, or is that just like
No,
an
I don't know if
internet?
I saw the thong, but
I've seen so much stuff on the internet of late, and some of it is like,
you've seen not true stuff on the internet?
yeah, but some of it
Weird.
is like so preposterous that I believe that maybe it's real. You know what I mean?
Yes, and WWE Shop Zone doesn't actually sell Batista skinny jeans. But
Yeah, you sent it to me, and I believed it for like 10 minutes, and then I started reading it more carefully, and I was like, you fucker.
I actually believed it at first too until I saw they were only like $20.
yeah.
And then someone today sent me a WrestleMania. They said new WrestleMania 30 logo, and this was a person where if there was a new WrestleMania 30 logo, it is believable that they would have it before anybody else.
Sure.
They didn't tell me they were joking. They sent it to me, and they had taken the 3 X's, and they looked like H's.
Oh.
So it looked like WrestleMania HHH, and it was so preposterous that I was like, I believe this. They're trying to convince me it's an X, but it looks like an H.
Hey, can you rewind that?
What is it? What are we looking for, Craig?
There was...
Apparently you can't rewind it.
It's rewinding.
Look at the guy in the crowd. I think Seth Rollins is in the crowd here.
Seth Rollins is in the crowd.
Oh, never mind. Don't worry about it.
I'll let you watch while Vinny goes on. I'll keep an eye on it as well. Go ahead, Vinny.
So the Bellas were very annoying on commentary. They were there to plug Total Divas. And everything the announcers said as a tease, the Bellas responded with, you're just going to have to watch.
Thank God they're out there.
Yeah.
By the way, why does Nikki have laces on her shirt?
Why does she have laces on her shirt?
Yeah.
To draw attention to her cleavage.
There you go.
I was going to say easy to untie.
Well, you're not wrong. I just dropped my phone.
Right there.
There's 40 people on screen,
I
Craig.
did not see anybody resembling
Right there,
Seth
you
Rollins.
say.
Never mind.
Go on.
Yes, let's go on.
Man, there might have been another guy with long hair in the crowd.
Imagine that.
You don't see those every day. He may have had a beard as well.
So Naomi was back. She got a big ovation. She looked totally great. She had a blinged out eye patch. Got the hot tag. Ran wild with drop kicks. Hit a split leg moonsault better than anything Rob Van Dam's ever done. And
She looked great.
She looked great.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Craig.
What?
Wolf.
So AJ screamed at Tamina and Tamina shoved her down. Haven't they done that about 3 times now?
I believe so, yeah.
They announced Mr. T going into the celebrity ring of the Hall of Fame. made the argument last year or whenever it was that Tyson went in that he deserved to be in the regular Hall of Fame, not the celebrity wing. That goes so much more stronger for Mr. T, who actually did wrestle in the main event of the first WrestleMania.
He was a WWE wrestler.
Yes.
Briefly, but a wrestler.
He had 2 matches, and one of them was boxing, but still. Somewhere in here, they were talking about the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and one of the announcers said the winner will get to carry that trophy for a year.
Yeah.
I hope that poor guy doesn't have to actually lug a trophy around the country.
Especially because he's 7 feet tall and made of solid gold.
Even worse.
Better be Langston.
Try to stuff that into an overhead bin.
He'll need to buy an extra plane seat.
That would make for great vignettes.
I could tell you so many great vignettes.
Absolutely.
They had a big 8-man tag that didn't matter. Show pinned Damian Sandow with a chokeslam. Do I need more detail?
That's about it.
All right.
That was, come on.
San Antonio liked it.
What do you want
to say,
fine.
Craig?
That was Ziggler's 3rd win in a row.
Oh, yeah, you're right, man.
It was Show and Dolph
in the
and
singles
Henry
match.
and Big E versus
Didn't count.
Axelback and Damian Sandow and Del Rio. There you go. Renee interviewed Batista backstage. Dave agreed to the interview this time. He said he had never quit anything in his life. He was going to leave WrestleMania with a championship. Bray versus Kofi. First of all, they had a really, really awesome music video.
Yeah,
Eminem rapping and Bray being Bray and Cena versus being Cena was great. And the song was, in fact, about legacy. So now you know where Cena got that line.
This video was awesome. Wasn't I just ranting that we need more music videos in professional wrestling?
Yes, you were.
And all of a sudden, they just went crazy. Apparently, main event was all music videos today.
Really?
And a gold dust match.
Oh, very cool.
This one was awesome.
So, yeah, I mentioned on SmackDown that Bray was lucky to escape with the win, and next time may have been Kofi's chance. I was wrong. Bray squashed Kofi.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely destroyed him. I call this the opposite of 50-50 booking.
Maybe somebody watched SmackDown and went, why is Bray Wyatt, who's going to be wrestling John Cena in one of the main events on the show, going 50-50 with Kofi Kingston?
That's a good question.
And realized we must remedy this on Raw, the show that people actually watch.
Yep. All right, the main event angle took forever. So I'm just going to try and summarize it. Hunter
Took forever, but you know what? It was really good.
It went too long for me.
Apparently, Vinny's the one.
All right.
You and Todd.
It went, well, okay, so Hunter calls out Bryan. Hunter tries to play nice. Said, yes, I'm going to beat you. Yes, I'm going to put an end to all this, but you have earned my respect. You've put up with all my crap. Unlike some people, anyone else, he said, would have folded and took their ball and gone home.
Man.
I laughed and I laughed and I laughed.
They are so angry at CM Punk, especially Stephanie.
Yep.
Stephanie's in her infuriated, catty, irate, fuming promos, all directed at Punk.
And he's never coming back. That's the best part to me.
Yeah,
But
you know what? Here's the problem, though. If Vince could talk him into coming back, he'd come back, whether Stephanie and Hunter would like it or not.
that is true.
And Vince would like to have the guy back,
I'm sure that's true.
but I don't think he's coming back.
Well, he's certainly not going to come back.
He wasn't anywhere near that Undertaker Brock Lesnar.
No. And he would have fit right in with the storyline they were pushing.
It was a main storyline. It was
Yes.
all about CM Punk, essentially.
Well, he was one of the guys who nearly beat Taker. And then
But he's
got
the most
killed by
recent
Brock.
one.
He is the most recent one. That's true.
And he's the most recent one that Brock absolutely destroyed. You would think at the very least they would just show Brock destroying him repeatedly. They didn't even do that. He's just gone from history.
He's wiped out.
Yep.
But I laugh, and I'm actually laughing at Steph because she's cutting promos to make herself feel better, I guess. And I think she's trying to annoy Punk, and he clearly doesn't care. But if he comes back, and I don't see it happening anytime soon, but if he comes back, he's not going to be coming back to do anything with Steph. That's why I laugh. All right, so Hunter calls out Bryan. He's being all nice to him. And Hunter asks for a handshake, but Bryan says no, and so Hunter just says that's fine, and he goes to leave. Steph comes out and says that Bryan had insulted her family, insulted her and her family. She was going to press charges. She sent officers to the ring to arrest him. I was laughing about San Antonio police having jurisdiction about what happens in Memphis, but whatever. Actually, it made sense by the end. So Hunter and Steph were arguing, And the officers finally forced Bryan to the ground. Excessive force, as the announcers noted, and they handcuffed him. And then Hunter smiled. He told them to back off. You're not real cops anyway. And the fans, who did not see where this was going, laughed at that line. Poor fans. And so now Bryan was handcuffed in the ring, and Hunter sent the cops out there, and of course Hunter beat the crap out of him. For a long-ass time.
Yeah.
Beat him and beat him and beat him. Tried to drown him at one point. And occasionally Bryan would fire back with kicks or headbutts, but then Hunter just beat him down again. And it got to the point where I was like, okay, I know Hunter and Steph are in charge, and people are afraid of the boss. But Bryan has no one willing to come help him. None. No Big Show, no Shield, no Brie Bella.
What the hell's Brie going to do?
Come on, scream at him, beg for mercy.
That worked great for her the
Something.
last time she tried that.
So, yeah. It was a good angle for me that just went on way too long, and I kept waiting for it to end and waiting for it to end and waiting for it to end. And 17 minutes, that's what I wrote, a 17-minute segment that should have gone less than 10.
Dude, Vinny, this is not some wacky Impact segment that's leading to a goofy match on the next television show. This was the big-time heat angle for the biggest WrestleMania of all time. If you count the number of people that are probably going to watch it on the network, probably more people will watch well, unless the thing crashes. But conceivably, more people are watching this WrestleMania than any WrestleMania ever. And this is going to be the main event of the show. So in this particular instance, I can understand it being a heavy, long beatdown segment. If this were just a random angle at the end of Raw, I'd be like, oh my God, end this already. But this is like your big angle for your biggest show of the year. This one right here.
I didn't like the fake chair shot to the head.
You'd rather you really waffled him in the head?
No, if they're not going to do chair shots to the head, why would you even fake one?
Because it's the go-home angle, one of them for the main event of the biggest show of the year.
Well, he laid Bryan on the apron with his head against the post, and then whacked the chair into the post, of course, not Bryan's head. And, that was another thing. And this is maybe petty, but chair shots to the head are banned.
Yes.
So they do one fake one here. In a key moment, they do one fake one for it is the biggest match. I'm fine with that. But then after all that, after 17 minutes of beating and the never more seen chair shot, which is like the dreaded martinet in Mexico, Hunter still has to hit the pedigree.
Well, yeah.
Okay, dude, where have you been?
I know.
Hunter's gimmick for the last 15 years. He could run over someone with a Mack truck and he'd still have to hit the pedigree for good measure. This is a gimmick. What if... Let's think about this WrestleMania. It's $9.99 if you buy the network, right?
Correct.
So, do they really need to sell WrestleMania? Is WrestleMania this year going to be a will I buy it or not on WrestleMania Sunday? Or is this going to be a WrestleMania where chances are most people who are normally going to buy a WrestleMania... I mean, you're going to have the same number of WrestleMania viewers and perhaps more, perhaps many more than you've ever had watching WrestleMania before, correct?
Sure.
We're not down to the last day whether or not people are going to buy it, right?
Of course not.
So what if they go on Raw Monday and they say, Daniel Bryan has been severely injured. He's got a shoulder injury. He's got a concussion. He's not on the show tonight. And we don't know if he's going to even make it to the Triple H match at WrestleMania. And you never see Bryan again on any Raws before Mania. And you have Brie Bella going, I think he's going to be there, but we don't know. And you have you never see Bryan again. And everyone has to wait to see if he comes out for that match with Hunter.
I don't know about that.
Why?
Because
they're going to cancel the network or not watch WrestleMania because they don't know if Bryan's going to be there?
You want people to be excited for Bryan's match, not wonder if it's going to happen.
But you don't think that most fans would presume that, of course, he's going to be there?
Of course they will, but then why even go that way?
To hold Bryan off the show
if
until
they're not
then.
going to believe the story anyway.
Well, why would you do such a heavy angle if he's going to be back on Raw next week?
Well, I agree with that.
Or the week after.
He is off recuperating with injuries, and then he needs to come back he needs to be off until the go home show, and then come back and attack everyone and send them running.
So you'd bring him back on the go home show?
Yes.
All right.
I don't even know if I'd do that, actually.
You wouldn't even have him back on the go home show?
No, he should come back on the go home show, but I don't think he should beat anybody. You know, Keep him. There's always that thing where if you win on the go home show, you're not going to win at Mania. So I don't know. Why are you looking at me like that?
I always look at you like that, Craig. Trying to intimidate you. This guy here says
it's not.
Am I doing Raw now?
We better.
That's the idea, homeboy.
Stephanie came out for a promo, and she did in fact say that Daniel Bryan would not be there tonight. She spoke the truth. She talked about how insubordination would not be tolerated. Said they would not allow this passing fad to create a false leader who would lead them down a path of self-destruction. Who in the hell wrote this?
The person who writes most of this crap.
God.
The Michael Cole one was even worse later when he was questioning Triple H.
Yeah.
Listen, I can understand some guys can't do a promo, so you script some stuff for them. But Triple H is not a guy who can't do a promo. And Michael Cole's been doing this long enough. And he was a legit, honest-to-God, real-life reporter and a war correspondent. I'm pretty sure both of these guys can just, wing it. Michael Cole's stuff was horrendous, the stuff he had to recite. Oh, we got a frog. We got a Ms. Frog. Spitting image.
All I have to say about this whole thing is the person that scripted Stephanie's promo was not the same person who chose the leather pants for her. They were nice.
Thank you, Craig.
So, crowd was very hyped for this segment. Chanted for Bryan. They chanted what? Chanted for CM Punk. All very loud. She said Hunter would win the championship. Orton came out. He started droning on with some badly written, fake, phony dialogue. And finally, the crowd chants for Bryan threw him off. And Steph had to interrupt him, assure everyone Bryan would not be there, apologize to Orton. Orton said he understood, and I've learned to drone them out. And this, you could tell, was an unplanned moment of ad-libbing, and it was so far and away the best part of this.
Yeah, let these guys go.
This segment was like a screaming neon sign saying what you are doing is wrong, and when your plans go awry, it improves greatly.
Oh, yeah.
So then Orton went back to the script and blah, 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 blah. Big Dave came out, and again, something went wrong. His mic didn't work. And finally, Steph had to say, I can't hear anything you're saying. There's a mic behind you. Grab that one. And it was much better. So anyway,
Vince gets agitated.
The build up to this, the whole point of all this was for Dave to call Stephanie a slut. And she slapped him and left. And Orton was cackling, and so Dave speared him. A strange segment.
And Dave, he wasn't even wearing his skinny jeans, but he somehow managed to blow out his pants.
He did. Thank God he wasn't wearing the skinny jeans. So somebody here on Twitter said the guy who wrote the Raw preview was the guy who wrote Stephanie's promo. You guys probably didn't hear Observer Live on Sunday.
No.
But I found a guy on WWE.com. Anthony Benigno is one of their writers.
Right.
And he's quite incredible. Brooklyn, New York. This is a quick recap from Raw from Anthony here. Anyone expecting something resembling remorse from Stephanie McMahon was sorely disappointed when one of WWE's principal owners, 1 week removed from assisting Triple H in a brutal beating of Daniel Bryan, not only continued on her tear against the Yes Movement, but defended the intellect and character of the McMahon family in their handling of the situation.
This is from the Raw report on your website, right?
Not our website, WWE.com.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
That makes more sense.
Oh, yeah. You got to go and Google Anthony Benigno. I don't know how you pronounce it. But he's got some gems up there at WWE.com.
There you go. 4-way for a title shot at Big E. No, Del Rio did not get a title shot. He had to fight 3 other men to try and get one. Big E, this poor guy, made it look like a complete geek twice on SmackDown. Here, they put him in a chair at ringside and said, okay, react to everything. So he's like, I don't know. He looked like a geek, marking out for near falls and sweating this like he feared them all or something. I don't know. Did not look good. There was a great finish. Sheamus had Del Rio went for the armbar on Sheamus. Sheamus went for the Bob Backlund lift. But then Dolph Ziggler hits Sheamus with the zigzag, so all three of them go crashing to the mat. And then Christian runs in and hits Dolph with a kill switch for the win. And Big E got in the ring. He offered Christian a handshake. Christian laughed like the idea he would shake hands with this geek, and he left.
All with a concussion.
That sucks.
Now, did this happen when Sheamus threw him overhead into the dasher boards?
I don't know when it happened.
Sheamus was brutalizing dudes in this match. I absolutely loved the match. I thought it was great.
There was a lot of people brutalizing people.
And I thought it funny when the crowd actually got behind one Dolph Ziggler.
Well,
They do that.
It's the
odd.
Brooklyn crowd. I liked when the whole Boston, the Cloverleaf spot where Sheamus had to tell Del Rio to quit fighting so hard. So they both fall over in a heap.
Oh, God. Scooby-Doo's Mystery Machine arrived, and out popped Scooby-Doo and Sin Cara.
Tell us about your son, Craig. Did he love this?
Guess where I had to go today?
The movie?
No, I had to go to Best Buy.
Oh, that's right. It's on Blu-ray.
I had to go to Best Buy, and I had to go buy the WrestleMania Mysteries, and I will write a full-page book report.
No, I want you to review it on the show.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched it yet?
No.
Oh, okay. Why are you mad about it?
I was told that the guy in the Scooby-Doo costume, more wrestlers took photos with him
Oh, I'm sure.
than with Arnold.
Absolutely.
Well-
I would.
Arnold didn't look like Arnold. What was that?
That was Arnold being mad at you. He's haunting our system now.
Vinny's computer.
I see.
Does this every now and then.
Well, I think Arnold's hair was afraid of his face because it was running away from it.
Wow.
Where's the drop?
Brian, do you have
Where's the drop?
Oh, you want the
Rim shot?
The hearty belly laugh would be fine.
how about this one? Well, I just turned the volume down.
that
There
works? All right.
Okay.
Say it again. Ah!
You pay this man every month for this. Thank you. There we go.
There we go. Don't put me on the spot, or you know what happens to this show?
What's that?
Proceed, Vinny.
So Sin Cara squashed Damian Sandow, and Scooby-Doo was walking around ringside. The most horrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. Just scared the bejesus out of me.
He's very big.
He's huge. What a Scooby-Doo costume actually looks like, at least this one, it looks like a werewolf on meth. A big eyes all bugging out, and his head didn't turn, so he had to turn his whole body to look at things. Scared me. And of course, Sin Cara's in the movie, so he won here, which is fine, but what happened to Damian Sandow? My God, this guy.
Well, you know, there be good days and your bad days.
When was his last good day?
Weeks.
Okay.
Months.
Los Matadors versus Axelback. He said Axelback had pulled out of the Mania Battle Royal to get a tag title shot instead. In other words, the people putting this program together have no idea what they're doing. Shield came out. Axel got distracted. He got pinned. Hell of a way to build with the tag title challengers. So the Matadors left. Shield destroyed Axelback and hit Ryback with the triple powerbomb. We had the Triple H Michael Cole interview. I don't even remember Cole's dialogue. I thought Hunter was great here.
Hunter was awesome once he got going.
Yeah.
Probably the first 3 or 4 minutes of it, I almost fell asleep. But when Hunter started getting upset about how the world had gotten soft, it completely turned around.
Yes, he talked about how Bryan had wanted a match with him, and he had turned him down, and finally he had given Bryan what he wanted, and now people were upset with him. Said the fans used to be aggressive and ambitious, in the world, in fact, yes, they used to be aggressive and ambitious. Now they were soft and weak, and if they didn't get their way, they would have a big cry or send out an angry tweet.
Hunter remains very reactive to the internet.
He does. He had a line aimed directly at the internet fans, saying he had the power to win the title, the power to make it happen, he said. A line written specifically to piss off internet fans. He vowed to walk out of Mania with the belt. Hunter was great here.
Was there a reason that Triple H's verbiage and the things he said were pretty much what Dave Bautista's been saying for the last few weeks?
What do you mean?
About this isn't what I left, and this place has changed. And
Well, probably the same writers are writing for everybody.
that's fair.
So the answer to your question, Craig, is yes.
Gotcha.
There is a reason. Cody Rhodes beat Fandango in a comedy match. Goldust was messing with Summer until he goaded her into a dance-off. Fandango got distracted, and Cody kicked him and won. I am sad the Rhodes brothers are no longer having great tag matches.
So I got a couple of notes here. Sandow also lost to Sin Cara on SmackDown this week. So add that to his list. And Brian here says Miz in the Scooby-Doo movie is buried even worse than on actual WWE programming.
Really?
I'm looking forward to this.
We shall see, I guess.
Hogan came out for a promo.
This was awesome.
He came out, he plugged Mania, plugged the Battle Royal, brought out Arnold Schwarzenegger and Arnold's co-star, whose name I should really learn because he was great here.
Joe Manganiello.
He was fantastic.
Or as Hulk called him, Joe Magnioli. So apparently you can call him whatever you want.
Hey,
just remember
when you're
Joe.
Hulk Hogan. Yes, the answer is yes. So this guy was bigger than Hogan or Arnold. I was stunned he never took his shirt off because he's actually ripped. But when it was his turn to speak, he did a great job. Arnold talked about how happy he was to be there, how great Hulk's body was.
Yeah, Hulk is the real deal because of his big muscles.
Yeah, of course. Well, for Arnold, that makes sense.
Sure.
Then the
If you don't have muscles, you're not the real deal. You're the fake deal.
Well, yeah. The co-star cut an even better promo, said he was in the ring with the greatest action star of all time and the greatest wrestler of all time. Arnold and Hulk talked about being great friends with Andre. Arnold said, we should go in the Battle Royal. Before Hulk could answer, Mike Mizanin interrupted.
Mike the Miz.
He then said, these three men were pretending to be tough guys, but he was a real tough guy.
Oh, yeah.
Never laughed so hard.
This is great. This is what I need out of the Miz. Just entertain me.
He vowed to win the Battle Royal. Said the three of them did not belong here. The co-star stepped in front of the greatest wrestler of all time and the greatest action star of all time and said, I got this. He had a punch to the gut. Arnold hit a backhand. Hulk threw Miz out of the ring. And this was a very fun segment. Buried Miz, which is always a plus. And unlike the last time Miz got buried by a celebrity, he did not laugh it all off when it was over.
This is classic WWE, where they take a guy like The Miz. This poor guy. I really go from feeling really bad for The Miz to just abhorring his character. But this was one where, they said, all right, Miz, we have this idea. We're going to put you in the ring with a guy who can't move and a former governor who acts and a tall guy that no one's ever heard of, an actor. And they're all going to whip your ass and make you look like an idiot. But you're going to get the rub. And so he did it. And meanwhile, he looked like a complete idiot, this poor guy. Just that back fist that he had to sell. Oh, my God. The shot to the gut. And then Hulk Hogan, who was not allowed to do anything physical, grabs him and does a little skip, and Miz flew 90 feet.
See, I think your only mistake here is when they told him you're going to get the rub. I think they told him you're going to look like an idiot. And he said, got it.
No, they told him you're going to get the rub being in the ring with these three guys. That's how they sell it to these guys. That's how they sell that you're going to look like an idiot. You're going to get the rub from these guys. Miz was a trooper here. I got to hand it to the guy. He was awesome in this segment. Self-deprecating humor, which is what I call his, did I screw that up? He made fun of himself, and then he flew really high for the Hulkster.
That's right.
Good for him.
That's right. Titus O'Neil versus The Big Show. Fans chanted for Zack Ryder and CM Punk. Titus tried to throw Show out of the ring a few times because they were trying to plug the Battle Royal, and then Show punched him and won. Shield confronted the McMahons backstage. The Helmsleys, whatever you call them. They wanted to know if Hunter had anything to do with what Kane the Outlaws had done on SmackDown. Hunter denied any involvement, said that's your business, not mine. And Steph, here nearly 2 hours into the show, still booking on the fly, said you can have a match against the Real Americans tonight, and then we'll talk about it later. John Cena was in the bathroom washing his face. He looked up in the mirror. He saw the lamb mask peeking in around the corner at him, and he turned to face it, and it was gone.
See, I've had people explain to me this is not really like WCW. He wasn't seeing something in the mirror. There was really a guy there with a sheep mask. That's what they're explaining to me.
Yes.
But the story, to me, was that John Cena was imagining it. Because if it was really a guy in a mask, why would he just turn around and not look outside the door or chase them? The storyline had to be that in his mind, he's imagining things. The announcers never mentioned a sheep mask, nothing like that. This was a WCW angle.
It was stupid. It was not as stupid as it sounds.
I can only imagine this is in my son's wildest and worst dreams.
Mine!
Yeah.
Still horrified of the idea of looking in the mirror and seeing a sheep behind me. What could be worse?
Well, the sheep could be in front of you.
I guess if the mirror were on the ceiling, like in John Cena's... Craig, really?
What am I doing for a living?
You idiot. I was just thinking about John Cena's van where Brie Bella's talking about the, the mirror on the ceiling. I was just thinking how they could utilize that in some sort of storyline.
And your first thought
was
is
a sheep.
to go with the man in the sheep mask.
Well, no, my first thought was like they would be doing some sort of storyline on Total Divas where her and John, during a taping, they kind of sneak into the thing, and they're in the bed under the covers and such, and the camera pans up to the mirror, and you see Brie Bella looking up, but in the mirror, John Cena is with another girl in the bed, and she freaks out.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a sheep. But,
well, you could do that too.
Yeah, but that would be weird.
That wouldn't be E.
Vince has given up.
Come on, everybody.
Cena wrestled Luke Harper again.
Great match.
Yeah, yep.
Excellent match.
Most passionate anti-Cena crowd they've had in a while, which helped. Many chants of "Let's go Harper."
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So Cena grabbed him for an AA when the lights went out. When the lights came back on, Cena was tied on the ropes and wearing the sheep mask. The Wyatts were surrounding him and saying scary things. And the cameraman was in the ring shooting all of it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like that detail. Is the cameraman now in, is he part of the Wyatt's clan? They pay him off? Why did he get in the ring when the lights went out?
It's a professional.
Really?
Actually, technically, he is a professional, yes.
Well, he is, but they are coached then, hey, camera guys, if the lights go out, get in the ring.
It's not that dark. Anyway.
Everything else about this was fantastic.
Why could we have a finish on SmackDown but not on Raw is my question.
Because nobody watches SmackDown.
I guess that's a good point. You got me there.
So don't bother with an angle, just have somebody get pinned. Naomi versus AJ. There was a spot early, in fact immediately, where Naomi tried the rear view, but AJ feared the ass and ran away. And in fact, when I say ran away, she ran out of the ring and took a count-out loss. And then Vicky came out, and she booked AJ in a title match at Mania against all the other girls.
Boy, did Naomi get screwed.
Yeah.
Screwed out of her one-on-one match.
Layla made her big return, barely even made camera.
She's been around for a while.
Oh, sorry, not Naomi. Did I say Layla? I meant Layla. Has she been back for a while?
Yeah.
A couple weeks.
Oh, well, there you go. Anyway, AJ was sad and Vicky...
You're turning into Jerry Lawler.
Well, yeah. AJ was sad and Vicky cackled. They announced Razor Ramon for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Said he was the cool bad guy before guys like Austin or Rock or DX came along. Best part of this was Cesaro saying he was a big fan of the way Razor, quote, pushing kids into the fountain and being awesome.
That's a good description.
Said he was the winner of the most famous ladder match of all time. And the most interesting about this to me is that this is not Scott Hall going into the Hall of Fame. It's Razor Ramon.
Everyone has mentioned, so I don't know why people are getting so hung up on this.
I'm not, upset about it. Maybe they'll just bring him back when they actually do the New World Order induction. But yeah.
The chances of an NWO induction are slim.
Why? Because they didn't think of it?
Basically.
All right. Well, that's actually, all right. That makes sense. But yeah, there was zero mention of anything he did after leaving the WWE.
That's because they invented Razor Ramon.
Yeah, there you go.
And so they are putting him in the WWE Hall of Fame So they're putting in what they created. Little things like this, you know?
So
So Rick Bogner's going to be there? I don't know.
I was going to say.
No. I was going to say, are they going to induct Scott Hall? Because you have to think that his role in the NWO was just as big as Razor Ramon.
They didn't create the NWO.
They sure took advantage of it.
Of course they did. They also put out a Goldberg DVD, too, and I don't think you're going to see him in the Hall of Fame anytime soon.
I'll give you that.
Hall of Famers in the WWE include Abdullah the Butcher, Antonio Inoki.
These are both big-time stars, Vinny. What
Bill
point are you
Watts.
making here?
Point is, they have lots of guys who are in the Hall of Fame who never worked for him.
I see.
Yeah.
So
I see.
That they didn't invent.
But Scott Hall did work for them as Razor Ramon.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I'm sure when Kevin Nash goes in, he's probably going to go in as Diesel. Don't look at me.
It's just, if that's their thinking, that's stupid because
It's the WWE Hall of Fame.
I get what you're saying, but if
Gordon Soley is in the Hall of Fame. He never worked for them.
the NWO was huge.
It's the biggest thing he ever did, and it's kind of silly to ignore it.
Exactly.
I'm sure
That's
he'll
all.
talk about the NWO.
That's all we're saying.
There was one, I believe there was a clip of him throwing a toothpick that was done on Nitro.
All right. Had a tweet from Daniel Bryan saying he had not been cleared to appear at Raw, but he vowed to be at Mania. Their excuse for this was that he had re-injured himself at a house show. Rollins and Ambrose versus the Real Americans. I do like, we talked about how Roman is the single star of the group now, but they haven't even bothered to take Dean's title away. He's still U.S. champion who just never, ever, ever defends it.
Yeah.
Rollins used Eddie Guerrero's Three Amigos spot, and 9 years after Eddie's death, the crowd still chanted his name. That's pretty awesome. So, as it turns out, Dean Ambrose is a fantastic babyface in peril, and Seth Rollins makes an awesome comeback. This team is going to be fun. Broke down into a four-way. Rollins hit the curb stomp, which they're calling the Peace of Mind, which is stupid. And so, they got the win. And then Cesaro tried to attack him afterwards, but Reigns dropped him with a spear, and they destroyed Cesaro and put him through the announce desk with the triple powerbomb. Crowd loved all of this. It was great. And then Ken and the Outlaws, all wearing suits, they came out and they booked the six-man for Mania. So there you go.
I gotta address some of these. This Scott Hall thing is blowing up on Twitter right now.
Oh.
This guy says Scott Hall was a much bigger star. It is dumb to just use Razor.
True.
This guy says they didn't create the Horsemen. Were the Horsemen that much more of a big deal than the NWO?
True.
This person says it would be like inducting DDP as Undertaker's stalker. This person mentioning they didn't create the Four Horsemen either. Okay, listen. This is what I'm trying to explain to everybody. Scott Hall, when Scott Hall went to WCW, what was the storyline?
That he was jumping ship.
That he was Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
They didn't mention the name Scott Hall for like months.
Sure.
He didn't have a name because you were supposed to think that Razor Ramon was going to WCW. But obviously the guy couldn't use the name Razor Ramon, so they used his real name. So in WWE's mind, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash got over huge because the story was you stole our guy, our creation. They filed a lawsuit. I wrote the goddamn book.
I know.
WWE filed a lawsuit because the Scott Hall character was too much like Razor Ramon. To them, Razor Ramon is their creation. It's their guy. He used Scott Hall because that's the name he had to use, but he was Razor Ramon the whole time. So he's going to the Hall of Fame as Razor Ramon. Why this bothers people, I don't know. I don't know why people are hung up on this. It doesn't matter.
They're ignoring the biggest part of his career.
It's the WWE Hall of Fame. Who cares?
Well, that's a valid point.
I'm sure he's going to talk about it in his fucking induction speech.
I thought it was silly enough to point out.
It's a valid talking point, but some people are really bothered by it.
Well, that's silly.
It's the WWE Hall of Fame, everybody. Relax. Everybody's eventually going in. Maybe someday, if they're all still around, maybe they'll put the whole NWO in at some point. Because one of these days, they are going to go, holy shit, we're going to come up with 6 names. Everybody's already in. Who's left?
Yeah.
Let's do the NWO this year. But until that day comes, don't expect Scott Hall to go in this year, or Razor Ramon to go in this year, and Scott Hall to go in next year. That's highly unlikely.
Main event was Heyman and Lesnar coming out for a promo. If you have been watching wrestling for the 2 decades plus the Undertaker has been around, you have seen this exact angle done many times. They talked tough for a while, talked about how great the streak was, how nobody was ever going to beat it, including Brock, they noted. He will never be 21-0. Finally, Brock said, I'm here to fight. Get out here, Undertaker. And so Druids came out. It took a long time wheeling the casket down to the ring. And then they had Brock be scared of Brock Lesnar. And he stomped the casket for a while. People were openly laughing at this.
It's funny. You know why it was funny? And you know why it was awesome? Because Brock Lesnar's gimmick is that he's an animal, right? Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen a cat when you introduce something into its environment that it doesn't understand?
Okay, yes.
It walks up to it and it punches it.
Yeah, that's true.
This is exactly what happened here. It's awesome.
So then he finally opened the casket, and it was empty. He got mad at the Druids, started to stalk them. The Druids should have run in fear, screaming. Instead, they slowly backed away, and Brock did not. He should have killed them all. And so Brock went back down, he slammed the casket shut, and he started talking about how he wasn't here to play games, and then the casket flew open, and Undertaker was in it this time, and he had a brief brawl, and Brock took a scary bump upside down on top of the casket.
As usual.
Yep. And then he left, and that was it. Nothing you ain't seen before, and yes, Brock Lesnar, the guy who came in, who conquered Ultimate Fighting and then returned to WWE, is just another guy scared of the ghost. This feud sucks so far.
A lot of people aren't into this feud. A lot of people are not into it. How were people really into like Brock and Punk last year?
Last year's Punk and Taker.
Or Punk and Taker?
I think so.
Were they
More
like
than
really
this.
into it? I mean, they were into it the day of the show. The day of the show was awesome.
Yeah.
But was it like, I mean, going in, was there great anticipation for the match?
Yes. It was really, really great until Paul Bearer actually died and they brought him into it. And then it got pretty sleazy. But it was still the guy everyone loves against the streak. And I can't say they haven't mentioned the streak. It's all Heyman's talked about. But this just felt like taking the great Brock Lesnar and making him a guy.
Well, he shouldn't be involved with monks.
I was listening to
unless he's going to eat them.
I was listening to Jim Ross's podcast with Mick Foley, and he was asking Foley, is the streak the number one selling thing on Mania? And Foley agreed. And as I'm listening, I was, no, not this year.
It's not the number one thing ever.
Not this year. By the way,
the greatest thing on the network ever is going on.
Yes.
It's a show full of bloopers.
Oh, God.
Like Ray was doing pull-ups and the shelf he was on collapsed. CM Punk was doing a promo and a light just fell behind him. A montage of guys swinging chair shots and missing and hitting themselves. This show, I want to watch.